Chapter 2821. With Lin's intelligence, it's not impossible. Lin Moyu is not unwilling to suffer losses, but he can only suffer visible losses, not hidden ones. Sometimes, suffering a visible loss can be beneficial, as it might lead to greater gains. Moreover, those old ancestors care about their reputation. For example, if one person gives 10 origin crystals, another person would be embarrassed to give only 9. It's not just about giving 9, even giving 10 would be insufficient. They would at least have to give 11, or even more. The face of an old ancestor is very valuable. Lin Moyu's aura grew weaker and weaker, his face pale as gold paper with no trace of blood. His realm also appeared to be shaky, extremely unstable, as if it could fall at any moment. Coincidentally, his realm had just advanced, from mid-level heavenly sovereign to high-level heavenly sovereign. Having just advanced, the instability caused by his injuries made it reasonable for his realm to fall. The fallen realm made Lin Moyu look extremely pitiful. Step by step, he walked towards the end of the path. At the location of the 9th grade origin spirit vein, Dongfang Wuan and Tianwan Shengji had already returned. They were the first to return, and both had some gains from this trip, but not much. Dongfang Wuan obtained a treasure from the god-slaying sect, but it was only a heavenly sovereign level treasure. Its only value was for researching the refining techniques of prehistoric sects and comparing them with current techniques. Over the years, they had already harvested many treasures from the god-slaying sect, shared among several forces. Dongfang Wuan's gain this time was just average. Tianwan Shengji's gain was slightly better. He obtained a technique. The technique was at the Dao Sovereign level, but only the first realm of Dao Sovereign, not very strong. The probability of obtaining a technique is higher than that of obtaining a treasure, and its value is also higher. According to the rules, the treasure Dongfang Wuan obtained was his own and did not need to be handed over. The technique obtained by Tianwan Shengji needed to be copied. The originally calm death energy on the path began to churn, and the three ancestors said in a low voice, "Someone else is coming out." Everyone present looked up simultaneously, and through the rolling mist, Saintess Lian and Lu Fengyao walked out one after the other. The two came out almost simultaneously. Seeing that Lu Fengyao was safe, the three ancestors seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The three ancestors had been tense before, and anyone could see that he was very worried about Lu Fengyao. Now that Lu Fengyao was safe, the three ancestors were finally at ease. In the eyes of others, this was a reasonable reaction, an old ancestor worried about his descendant. If Lin Moyu were present, he would surely think, "You're acting, keep acting." He already knew about the dealings between the three ancestors and the sect master of the god-slaying sect, so he understood that Lu Fengyao would definitely be safe. Even those who had accidents before were just part of their plan, merely for show. Another person had a similar reaction to the three ancestors. Among the three old ancestors from the Holy Lands, one was the old ancestor from the ancient Lotus Holy Land. When he saw that the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus was safe, he also visibly relaxed. Although he didn't say anything, everyone could clearly feel it. The three ancestors asked, "Did you gain anything?" The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, "My gains are not much, just a technique, an ancient treasure at the 4th realm of Dao Sovereign, and a diary left by a disciple of the god-slaying sect." These words made Dongfang Wuan and Tianwan Shengji feel a burning sensation on their faces. "What do you mean, not much, just these? If you say that, what about us?" The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus took out her gains. After examining the treasure, the three ancestors returned it to her. "According to the rules, you can keep this treasure. The technique and diary need to be copied." As he spoke, the three ancestors began copying the technique and diary. For these old ancestors, such information was shared. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus gracefully bowed, "Thank you, senior three ancestors." The three ancestors quickly finished copying the technique and diary and returned the originals to the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus before looking at Lu Fengyao. Before the three ancestors could speak, Lu Fengyao had already said, "I obtained a bottle of prehistoric elixir, but I don't know if it's still effective. Besides that, I also obtained a Dao Sovereign level treasure, but I can't tell which realm it belongs to. I didn't obtain any techniques this time, but I did get a pill recipe from the alchemy room." Lu Fengyao took out her gains and handed them to the three ancestors. Lu Fengyao had entered the alchemy room of the god-slaying sect and obtained a prehistoric elixir and a pill recipe. The pill recipe recorded the methods for refining several elixirs, all of which no longer existed. But that was secondary. The real value lay in researching the alchemy techniques of prehistoric sects. Additionally, Lu Fengyao obtained a Dao sovereign level treasure from the alchemy room, but she couldn't tell which realm it belonged to. After examining it, the three ancestors confirmed that the treasure was at the 6th realm of Dao sovereign. However, it was somewhat damaged, and whether it could be restored to the 6th realm after repair was uncertain. The three ancestors sighed. Although we didn't get what we wanted, your gains are still good. Was there any danger? The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, there were some scares, but thanks to Lin Moyu, we took the right path and made these gains. Lu Fengyao added, yes, without Lin Moyu, we wouldn't have been able to enter the core area of the god-slaying sect. The three ancestors showed some surprise. Tell me more. Lu Fengyao said, I saw a map in the alchemy room, a map of the god-slaying sect. That's when I realized that the god-slaying sect is divided into the outer area, the core area, and the central area. Only by following the correct method can one enter the core area. Otherwise, one can only stay in the outer area, where the gains are naturally less. Lu Fengyao explained how she entered the core area, and everyone finally understood. One of the old ancestors exclaimed, so that's how it is. It seems most of the time, we've been operating in the outer area. Another old ancestor said, it appears so. Dongfang Wuan and Tianwan Shengji looked displeased. They hadn't expected that in their haste to be the first, they had taken the wrong path. It turned out that the path they took shouldn't have been walked. They hadn't noticed such a detail. If they had been a bit slower, they might have followed Lin Moyu into the core area and gained more. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, not necessarily. Some people enter the core area by luck, even if they make mistakes. She had also gained some insights inside and knew something about the god-slaying sect. She shared what she knew, which corroborated with what Lu Fengyao had said. The three ancestors said, the rules of the god-slaying sect are ever-changing. This time's rules might not apply next time. But this also shows a problem. We haven't been thorough enough. Many things can't be achieved just by having a high realm. Everyone agreed. If a high realm alone could achieve everything, they would have succeeded long ago and wouldn't need the talents. Lu Fengyao suddenly asked, has Lin Moyu not come out yet? The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, Lin Moyu hasn't come out yet. Could he have entered the central area? The old ancestors' auras fluctuated. Entering the central area meant that their goals might be achievable. Lu Fengyao said, with Lin's intelligence, it's not impossible. The three ancestors said, perhaps, it really is possible. Chapter 2822, 2822. Chapter 2822, Who tells you to always shout and kill? As time passed second by second, every second felt long for the old ancestors. These old monsters, who had lived for countless years, were starting to become unsettled. Years of wishes and expectations might finally be realized this time. How could they not be excited? The aura enveloping them rolled like waves, reflecting their current mood. The third ancestor observed everything, with a hint of an inexplicable smile in his eyes. It seemed to mock and also carried a bit of sarcasm. Finally, after a short while, the death energy on the path began to roll again. Here it comes. 3 pairs of eyes lit up amidst the rolling aura, and the 3 old ancestors stared intently at the death-filled path, unblinking. Lin Moyu's figure appeared in the death energy, becoming clearer and closer. Their gaze was as if they wanted to devour him. If they didn't maintain their status, they might have already rushed over to drag Lin Moyu out. Lu Fengyao's face changed drastically. Lin Moyu's walking posture was off, stumbling as if he could fall at any moment. She rushed to Lin Moyu's side and supported him. At this moment, Lin Moyu's face was like gold paper, devoid of blood. Although his realm was higher than before, having become a high-level heavenly sovereign, the aura emanating from him told everyone that this realm could fall at any moment. Not only was his aura depleted, but even his soul was extremely weak. Lu Fengyao anxiously asked, how did this happen? Lin Moyu showed a slight bitter smile, it's nothing, just a small injury. A small injury, yet even his realm was about to be lost, and he still called it a small injury. Lu Fengyao immediately took out a pill and, without saying a word, stuffed it into Lin Moyu's mouth. The pill was of high grade and valuable. Lu Fengyao didn't care at all and directly gave it to Lin Moyu. The third ancestor's eyelids twitched, revealing a heartache expression, clearly indicating that this pill was extraordinary. At the same time, he looked at Lin Moyu with a thoughtful gaze, full of meaning. After taking the pill, Lin Moyu's aura slightly improved, but not by much. Lu Fengyao wondered, why is this happening? Why didn't the longevity pill work? It shouldn't be like this. She was about to take out a second pill, but Lin Moyu softly stopped her. Sister Fengyao, don't waste the pill. My injury is special, and the pill won't work. Lu Fengyao couldn't help but ask, what kind of injury did you suffer? Why didn't the longevity pill work? Lin Moyu replied, it's a long story. He muttered in his heart, I'm not injured, so of course, the pill won't work, not to mention I didn't even take it. Look at the third ancestor's expression. If I take a second one, he might flip out. This longevity pill must be very precious. Sister Fengyao truly cares for me, giving me such a precious pill without hesitation. The third ancestor probably saw through my act, but he won't expose me because he's also afraid I'll expose him. Let's just act together and see who's better at it. Lin Moyu softly said, Sister Fengyao, please help me over there to sit down, I can't stand anymore. Lu Fengyao nodded and immediately helped Lin Moyu over, taking out a chair for him to sit on. She thought Lin Moyu was so weak that he couldn't even take things out of his storage ring. Lin Moyu slumped in the chair and said to the old ancestors, Seniors, forgive me for being rude, I really can't stand. The third ancestor said in a deep voice, it's fine, tell us what you gained this time. Lin Moyu said, I was fortunate to pass the god-slaying sects test and enter the core area. In the core area, I barely walked the divine path up the mountain and reached the top. At the top, I obtained some things, but regrettably. Someone immediately couldn't help but ask, what did you get? What's regrettable? Lin Moyu weakly said, regrettably, I couldn't get that spear. What I got, I obtained the method to break through to the Tao Sovereign Realm. As soon as these words came out, the aura of the three old ancestors exploded, terrifying and powerful, sweeping through the space. They were excited and thrilled. After countless years of waiting, they finally got the result today. The powerful invisible pressure swept through, and Lu Fengyao and the others were pushed back by the pressure. Lin Moyu, who was originally slumped in the chair, was also blown away, and after falling to the ground, he passed out without a sound. The third ancestor shouted, calm down. Only then did the three old ancestors react, quickly retracting their aura. Looking at the unconscious Lin Moyu, they exchanged glances, not expecting to lose control like this. The old ancestor of the cold water holy land, Ji Yu Kang, said softly, alas, my Tao heart is still not strong enough. The old ancestor of the ancient lotus holy land also shook his head, it's not about the Tao heart, it's about waiting too long. What should we do now? The third ancestor waved his hand, anyway, this kid has already got the method. You don't need to rush, I'll take him to heal first, and when he recovers a bit, I'll call you. You know your own situation, keep your Tao heart steady and don't get so excited again. The third ancestor's words were indisputable, and the three of them believed in him, each nodding in agreement. After sending them away, the space was left with only the third ancestor, the unconscious Lin Moyu, and the worried Lu Fengyao. Lu Fengyao said to the third ancestor, Grandpa Third, will he be okay? The third ancestor smiled, don't worry, Yaoer, this kid's life is as tough as a dog's, he'll be fine. You go back first, leave this to Grandpa. Lu Fengyao also trusted her third grandpa, then I'll trouble you, Grandpa Third. The third ancestor opened a passage and sent Lu Fengyao back using the origin spirit vein. The space became extremely quiet, with only the third ancestor and the unconscious Lin Moyu. The third ancestor took out a chair and sat comfortably. Kid, stop pretending. Lin Moyu's body trembled slightly, then he stood up and stretched lazily. Imitating the third ancestor, Lin Moyu also took out a chair and sat down steadily, even his posture was similar. The third ancestor smirked, Kid, you acted well. Lin Moyu laughed, still far from the third ancestor. The third ancestor said, aren't you afraid I'll expose you? Lin Moyu said, I believe the third ancestor won't do that after all, no matter how I act, it doesn't harm the third ancestor. The third ancestor said softly, you're doing this to ask for benefits, right? Lin Moyu nodded, of course, after working so hard to get these things, how can I hand them over easily? I must get some benefits. The third ancestor said, hand over that longevity pill. Lin Moyu feigned confusion, that pill melted as soon as it entered my mouth, it's long digested. The third ancestor snorted, do you think I believe you? Lin Moyu thickened his skin, believe it or not, it's up to you. Anyway, I don't have the pill, just my life, do as you see fit. The third ancestor's killing intent rose. Do you think I don't dare to kill you? Lin Moyu said, you can kill me, but the task you want me to do will have to be done by someone else. The third ancestor laughed in anger. The task he gave Lin Moyu had become a bargaining chip against him. Fine, fine, you're the first to dare talk to me like this. Lin Moyu chuckled, no choice, you're always shouting and killing. I was forced. Sect Master 2 is much gentler than you. Everything can be discussed. Chapter 2823, 2023. Chapter 2823, you kid, you're really smart. Upon hearing the words, Sect Master 2, the third ancestor's expression subtly changed. What did he say? This change made Lin Moyu realize that things might not be as he thought. Normally, if the third ancestor had contact with Sect Master 2, he shouldn't react this way. There are two possibilities for this reaction. 1. The third ancestor and Sect Master 2 are very familiar, like old friends, hence the question. 2. They aren't familiar, just had contact, which could also lead to such a question. Lin Moyu said, he asked me to find someone for him. The third ancestor tapped his finger, and a Dao pattern appeared in the void. Is it this person? Lin Moyu nodded, yes, but the world is vast, how can I find them? I can only promise Sect Master 2 to do my best. The third ancestor also produced a bead identical to the one in Lin Moyu's hand. However, the bead in the third ancestor's hand was somewhat dim. I too have searched before, but unfortunately, I never found them. Time flies so fast, in the blink of an eye, so many years have passed. Time is truly terrifying. Even the light of the Great Tao cannot resist it. Soon, when the light of the Great Tao is exhausted, the bead in my hand will be useless. Lin Moyu said, yes, time is terrifying, which is why those old ancestors all pursue immortality beyond the Tao sovereign realm. The third ancestor suddenly laughed heartily. What immortality? Where in the world is there true immortality? If there were true immortality, why would old 2 end up like this, and why would the person he's looking for end up like this? His laughter carried a sense of release, mixed with a bit of desolation. Lin Moyu realized that the third ancestor knew more than he could imagine. He also realized that the third ancestor should know Sect Master 2 of the God-slaying sect and be quite familiar with him, making the third ancestor's previous reaction understandable. Lin Moyu asked, can you tell me? The third ancestor snorted, old 2 didn't tell you, why should I? Lin Moyu sighed, all right, then I won't ask. The third ancestor exclaimed, you're not asking. I want to tell you. Lin Moyu said, you don't have to, I know my realm is not enough, and there are things I'm not worthy of knowing. The third ancestor said, no, you already have the qualification because you are like us. Lin Moyu frowned slightly, wondering what he meant by being like them. However, in the next second, he understood that the third ancestor was referring to the path he was on, which was the same as theirs. Lin Moyu had long suspected that the third ancestor's cultivation path was the same as Sect Master 2's. Although Lu Fengyao's current path was no different from the cultivators on the origin continent, it was just to hide her true intentions. When Lu Fengyao reached a certain realm, the third ancestor would surely guide her onto the right path. As for the others, their paths were actually skewed, and their future prospects were not great. Perhaps one day, Lin Moyu would reveal the correct cultivation path to the world. But now was not the time. It would have to wait until he had enough power to protect himself. Lin Moyu perked up his ears. If the third ancestor really wants to speak, I can only listen. The third ancestor snorted, before I speak, let me ask you, have you obtained the inheritance of the Great Tao of Luck on your trip to the God-slaying sect? Lin Moyu nodded and snapped his fingers, and the Great Tao of Luck appeared beside him. There was nothing to hide. It would be known sooner or later. The third ancestor said, very good, being able to comprehend the Great Tao of Luck means your luck is top-notch, and you're also extremely smart. With your luck, listening to these words won't harm you. Listen, the realm above the Tao Sovereign is the Great Tao Realm, a legendary realm on the current origin continent. Those old ancestors call this realm the Immortal Realm. Immortal my foot, where in the world is there true immortality? It's all nonsense. The third ancestor couldn't help but curse before continuing, once you enter the Great Tao Realm, you indeed have no worries about lifespan, but the price is leaving the origin continent. Haven't you seen the Great Tao before? Those guys in the Great Tao are in the Great Tao Realm. They can't leave the Great Tao for long. Once they do, their lifespan decreases. They are protected by the Great Tao, can live forever, but that's only if nothing happens. If disaster strikes, they can still die. Those in the Great Tao realm face 3 disasters. If they can't withstand them, they die. Even if they withstand the 3 disasters, other things can still cause their demise, so the immortality of the Great Tao realm is not true immortality. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up, and he interjected, like the extraterrestrial gods. The third ancestor sighed, yes, like the extraterrestrial gods. The god-slaying sect is named so because they slew an extraterrestrial god. They weren't originally called the god-slaying sect. You can guess what they were called before. Lin Moyu shook his head. How could he guess that? The third ancestor laughed heartily. You'd never guess the god-slaying sect was originally called Two Family Village. Lin Moyu was stunned. He never expected such a name. Two Family Village, god-slaying sect, just from the names, there seemed to be a difference. The third ancestor continued laughing. Old Two must have told you his surname Two has nothing to do with the god-slaying sect. It's because they slew an extraterrestrial god that they are called the god-slaying sect. He's just afraid of losing face. Next time you see him, you can boldly ask if they were once called Two Family Village. Lin Moyu thought to himself, you dare say it, but I wouldn't dare ask. That would be asking for trouble. Mentioning Two Family Village seemed to be like revealing a scar, and the third ancestor was gloating. He continued, now you should understand, immortality is fake. Not to mention the Great Tao realm, even the Tao Masters don't dare claim immortality. Those Tao Masters only dare say they are hard to kill. For example, the person Old Two wants you to find as his Tao Master. His Tao Master is reincarnating in the world, perhaps already lost, or perhaps not. If he can find the Tao Master and bring him back, with the Tao Master's ability, Old Two might be able to revive, and with good luck, the entire god-slaying sect might revive. Lin Moyu found this fascinating, so that's how it was. Finding the Tao Master to revive himself, even the entire sect. Lin Moyu asked, does the Tao Master have such power? When the Tao Master was mentioned, the third ancestor became serious. Don't underestimate the Tao Master. If one day you reach that realm, you'll understand. Some things can't be understood without personal experience. Lin Moyu nodded. Indeed, many things require personal experience to understand, just listening isn't enough. He looked at the third ancestor. What about you? The third ancestor said, I know you've guessed my identity. I never intended to hide it. I came here for my own reasons. The power struggles on the origin continent have nothing to do with me. I just want to accomplish my own goals. Lin Moyu said, like the task you gave me before, that's one of them, right? The third ancestor said, exactly. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, so the king of the Boundary Sea might be like you. The third ancestor laughed again, you kid, you're really smart. Chapter 2824, 2824. Chapter 2824, you might not get the chance. The third ancestor's words essentially provided an answer. No wonder the king of the Boundary Sea made the same request as the third ancestor. Once I reach the Tao Sovereign realm, they want me to do something for them. This task probably won't be easy, and what they both want might not be too different. The origin continent isn't as simple as it seems. It holds many secrets, and the depths are unfathomable. Lin Moyu asked, are there many beings like you? The third ancestor replied, many, my foot. Lin Moyu was taken aback. Can you not speak with such suspense? The third ancestor said, no suspense, what I said is the truth. Whether you understand it or not is your business. Could there be a deeper meaning in these words? Lin Moyu thought it over but couldn't figure out the meaning behind them. Lin Moyu curiously asked, how did the Tao Master of the god-slaying sect fall? The third ancestor showed a mysterious smile and finally said, you guess. Lin Moyu thought for a moment, it should be related to that extraterrestrial god. The third ancestor chuckled but didn't answer directly, only saying, there are some things you aren't qualified to know yet. When you break through the limits of the Tao Sovereign and step into the Great Tao realm, you'll naturally understand. The same words again. Lin Moyu was already tired of hearing them. But since the other party wouldn't say, there was nothing he could do. Lin Moyu murmured in his heart, the Great Tao realm requires no illness or disaster to achieve immortality, but this immortality is not what I seek. Tao Masters and Great Tao Masters can fall, so it seems ordinary beings in the Great Tao realm can't easily avoid illness and disaster either. But even if those old ancestors know immortality is difficult, when faced with life and death, they will surely choose to take that step without hesitation, just to survive. The second ancestor said, you don't need to think too much. Even if those old ancestors know their path is wrong, they will still walk it without hesitation. If they stand still, they will die. As long as they keep moving forward, there might still be a chance. Miracles are not uncommon in this world. Lin Moyu nodded. Since you knew all along, why didn't you tell them? The third ancestor snorted. Why should I tell them? I'm not some kind-hearted person, there's no need to do such good deeds. When successful, help the world. When in distress, focus on oneself. I don't have the ability to help the world, so I can only focus on myself. Lin Moyu didn't believe the third ancestor's words, suspecting he had his own plans. The third ancestor's plans weren't important, and Lin Moyu didn't need to care. Their conversation reached a point where they were half honest with each other. An old and a young fox, each revealing part of the truth, but neither saying everything. Lin Moyu asked, what kind of conditions should I propose? The third ancestor laughed, his eyes narrowing with a sly smile. That depends on what you want. This reminded Lin Moyu of what the third ancestor had said before. His essence is that of a businessman. Businessmen seek profit. Everything in their eyes can be seen as a transaction. The third ancestor's demeanor clearly showed he was ready to ask for a lot. Lin Moyu shook his head. What I want, they probably don't have, like the root of rebirth. The third ancestor's smile froze. You dare say that? Can't you ask for something practical? Lin Moyu said, actually, I don't know what's most suitable. Could you help me think? The third ancestor's eyes turned. How about this? If you trust me, let me speak for you. And we need to make some preparations. These two foxes began to discuss how to exploit those old ancestors. In the third ancestor's words, those old ancestors of the Holy Land sects are all wealthy. If they don't take the opportunity to get a good sum from them, they'll miss out. But given Lin Moyu's status, they can't go too far. If those old ancestors lose face, it could be troublesome. So it's best for the third ancestor to speak on his behalf. They treated this harvest as a business, turning the method to break through to the Tao sovereign into a commodity to sell. After a long discussion, they reached a conclusion. The third ancestor said, all right, let's go back then. You stay at my place for a while, wait 2 days outside, then call them over. You should also recover a bit, don't look like you're about to die. Lin Moyu chuckled, and his aura instantly improved significantly. Although he still looked a bit weak, his life was no longer in danger, and his realm was firmly at the high-level heavenly sovereign. The third ancestor gave Lin Moyu a sidelong glance. Lin Moyu had used this trick to get a longevity pill. In a certain origin secret vault, Lin Mohan wielded a long sword, slashing out countless sword shadows. The sword shadows numbered in the millions, dense and numerous, and countless enemies were slaughtered in the sword energy. These enemies weren't living beings but some mysterious force transformed. Then the millions of sword shadows merged into one, forming a giant sword. The giant sword was infinitely high, seemingly about to cleave the galaxy. One sword, cleave the mountain. Lin Mohan shouted, and the giant sword fell at an astonishing speed, the sword light exploding. In a place tens of thousands of meters away, a high mountain collapsed, countless shattered trees vaporized in the sword light. From within the mountain, a massive flesh ball with a diameter of over 100 meters flew out, with an eye on it, looking extremely ferocious. The eye shot out beams of light at Lin Mohan, each beam capable of collapsing the earth and overturning mountains and rivers. The ground where Lin Mohan stood shattered, forming a bottomless pit. Lin Mohan was undeterred, flying into the air and slashing out another sword. One sword, cleave the sky. This sword was even more powerful than the last, the sword light sweeping and completely engulfing the flesh ball. The flesh ball let out a terrified scream, but the scream couldn't save its life. It turned to dust in the sword light, and something fell from the flesh ball, which Lin Mohan caught. It was a scale, with a Tao pattern on it, very peculiar, emitting amazing power. Lin Mohan glanced at it and put it away. The 6th piece, 12 more to go. Almost there. She smiled beautifully, turning into sword light and flying into the distance. Lin Moyu stayed at the third ancestor's place for a while. In the third ancestor's space, time was chaotic. 2 days passed outside, but only a few hours had passed in the third ancestor's space. Under his control, Lin Moyu's aura was much better than before. The third ancestor suddenly said, it's about time, they're getting impatient. Xiaolian, call them over. Lu Lian's voice immediately responded, all right. Lu Lian went to bring people, and the third ancestor said, I've already asked Lu Lian to notify the other old folks who haven't arrived yet. They should receive the message soon. You know what to do, right? Lin Moyu said, how would I know what to do? I've told the third ancestor everything you decide. At this moment, Lin Moyu looked innocent. The third ancestor gritted his teeth, you kid, if you dare to deceive Yaoer again, I'll skin you. Lin Moyu said, you might not get the chance. Moments later, Lu Nan brought 3 people over. They were the 3 old ancestors from before, but now they no longer hid themselves. In the third ancestor's space, they didn't need to do so. Chapter 2825, 2825. Chapter 2825, The Old Fox Who Lies Without Blinking. The 3 old ancestors came together, revealing their true forms here. According to the third ancestor, when outside, they needed to use a special secret method to seal themselves, reducing the impact of time on them. These people have lived for countless years, and as they approach the limit of their lifespan, every second is precious to them. The longer they live, the less they want to die. Among the 3, Lin Moyu had met Ji Yu Kang from the Coldwater Holy Land. The other 2, Lin Moyu had not seen their true forms. One appeared to be a middle-aged woman, with a beautiful appearance and a dignified and noble demeanor, a mature beauty. However, Lin Moyu could still sense her age no matter how she looked, the aura of time was hard to hide. Most female cultivators, no matter when, care about their appearance. The other was a spirited old man, although his hair was white, he still exuded an aged aura, but his vitality was still intact. Ji Yu Kang laughed loudly, it's still good here with you, no need to seal ourselves. The other old man followed, unfortunately, such a treasure place, there are only a few on the entire origin continent, can't be envied. The third ancestor chuckled, no need to envy, if you can kill me, you can become the master of this space. Ji Yu Kang's smile froze slightly, then he laughed even louder, third ancestor, you must be joking. The old ancestor of the ancient Lotus Holy Land also said, this joke is not funny at all. The third ancestor laughed and said to Lin Moyu, let me formally introduce you to the old ancestor of the Coldwater Holy Land, Ji Yu Kang, Tao Sovereign Ninth Realm. The old ancestor of the ancient Lotus Holy Land, Fire Lotus Ancestor, Tao Sovereign Ninth Realm. Back then, Fire Lotus Ancestor was the most beautiful in the southern continent, pursued by countless geniuses. When the third ancestor said this, it wasn't exaggerated, as if stating a fact. Not only the third ancestor, but the other 2 old ancestors also showed no surprise. Lin Moyu could see that Fire Lotus Ancestor was indeed extremely beautiful back then, perhaps due to time, her appearance had changed somewhat, but traces could still be found. Fire Lotus Ancestor said, it's a pity that among those who pursued me back then, there was no second ancestor, otherwise I wouldn't be alone, only seeking the great Tao and ignoring the mundane. The third ancestor chuckled but didn't respond to Fire Lotus Ancestor's words. He continued to introduce, this is the old ancestor of Duantian City, the Dongfang family, Wooding Ancestor, Tao Sovereign Ninth Realm. Lin Moyu greeted the 3 old ancestors. The third ancestor's introduction seemed simple, but it conveyed a lot of information to Lin Moyu. The most important thing was that all 3 were Tao's Sovereign Ninth Realm, purely from the realm, they were the highest decision-makers of the 3 forces. Ji Yu Kang laughed, it seems Lin Xiaoyu's injuries have improved a lot. Lin Moyu said, thank you, Senior Ji Yu, for your concern. After the third ancestor's treatment, my injuries are no longer serious. With some rest, I will recover. Ji Yu Kang said, the third ancestor's methods are naturally reliable. If Xiaoyu needs anything, feel free to ask me. The third ancestor teased, old Ji Yu, do you think I wouldn't have what you have? Ji Yu Kang laughed, of course, as long as it's something on the origin continent, the third ancestor can surely obtain it. He was thick-skinned, not denying that he was trying to win over Lin Moyu. For no other reason than that Lin Moyu himself was worth winning over. If Lin Moyu could truly join the Coldwater Holy Land, then the Coldwater Holy Land might have another Tao Sovereign Ninth Realm ancestor in the future. For a Holy Land, this was an irresistible temptation. Fire Lotus Ancestor said, since Lin Xiaoyu has recovered, can you tell us the method this time? Of course, we won't let Lin Xiaoyu suffer. Lin Moyu bowed to Fire Lotus Ancestor, for this matter, Senior might need to discuss it with the third ancestor. After saying this, he glanced at the third ancestor. The meaning was clear, he couldn't make the decision, the third ancestor could. The third ancestor chuckled, 3 of you, I need to mention something first. According to our agreement, each time 2 geniuses can enter, as the host, I can also have 1 designated spot. This time, Lin Xiaoyu went in, and I paid a certain price for this spot. I mentioned before that if Lin Xiaoyu gained anything, I would have the right to handle it first. You haven't forgotten this, have you? The 3 nodded simultaneously, and Wooding Ancestor said in a hoarse voice, "That's right, it was indeed agreed upon at the time." The 3 of them had guessed what was going on, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. At that time, the 3rd ancestor proposed to add a person, and to get their agreement, he paid a price. But the 3rd ancestor never did a losing deal, and naturally, there would be corresponding demands. The demand was that Lin Moyu's gains, he would have the right to handle them first. Of course, it also meant that if the method to break through was obtained, it would be shared with them. But this sharing wasn't free. The 3rd ancestor chuckled, "Given your status, you wouldn't go back on your word, right? The method to break through to the Tao Sovereign was obtained by Lin Xiaoyu and has been handed over to me. If you want to obtain this method, you'll have to come to me." Fire Lotus Ancestor said, "The 3rd ancestor is indeed a businessman, we can't match him in doing business." Ji Yu Kang said, "Just name your price." The 3rd ancestor continued, "I haven't finished speaking, don't be impatient. The item is already in my hands, and it won't go anywhere. We've known each other for many years, and you know my temperament. Besides me, Lin Xiaoyu also knows the method to break through, but the part he knows is sealed by me. When Lin Xiaoyu reaches the Tao Sovereign 9th realm, the seal will naturally be lifted. Before that, no method can break the seal. If anyone tries to forcibly break the seal, not only will they fail to get the method, but it will also lead to Lin Xiaoyu's death, and I will naturally sense it. You know my methods." The 3rd ancestor's tone remained calm, but for some reason, it carried an invisible killing intent, chilling to the bone. The 3rd ancestor wasn't joking, he was serious. The 3 old ancestors present had no doubt about the 3rd ancestor's words. With their understanding of the 3rd ancestor, if he said it, he would do it. Although they were all old ancestors, they knew there was a gap between them and the 3rd ancestor, and they didn't want to offend him. As long as they could get what they wanted by paying a price, there was no need for conflict. Lin Moyu knew the 3rd ancestor said this to protect him. This was what they had discussed earlier, allowing him to extricate himself. If not said this way, those old ancestors would surely trouble him later, trying to get the method from him. Now he was relatively safe, not absolutely, but generally not a problem. Fire Lotus Ancestor said, "We naturally won't trouble Lin Xiaoyu. Given our status, we wouldn't do such a thing." The 3rd ancestor laughed. Fire Lotus Sister naturally wouldn't, but some people are hard to say. Lin Moyu knew the 3rd ancestor was implying someone else, not the 3 present. The 3rd ancestor said, "That's the first thing. Now for the second." He took out a large gemstone, with distinct edges, no specific shape. Its shape seemed to be constantly changing, initially with distinct edges, then suddenly becoming smooth and translucent, very peculiar. But when the 3 old ancestors saw this gemstone, their expressions changed slightly. Chapter 2826, 2826. Chapter 2826, Rare Goods Can Command High Prices, Profitable Business. Fire Lotus Ancestor's expression changed slightly. 3rd ancestor, what are you doing with that Tao stone? The 3rd ancestor chuckled, the Tao stone is naturally for making a great Tao oath. If you want to purchase the method to break through to the Tao Sovereign realm from me, you must make a great Tao oath with the Tao stone. And the great Tao oath isn't just made casually, it must be made according to my requirements. Everyone, I know this is a bit difficult, but there's no choice. This method is too important. For countless years, countless people have sought it in vain. It's considered a rare commodity, so I must sell it at a good price. The 3rd ancestor spoke with a smile, fully embodying the appearance of a businessman who would do anything for profit. In fact, the 3rd ancestor's words were not pleasant to these proud old ancestors. It was akin to coercing them at their level. How could they easily make a great Tao oath? A great Tao oath is not like a soul oath, which is sworn on one's soul and can be broken by various methods. A great Tao oath must be made with the aid of the great Tao, and it is an oath on one's Tao. If the oath is broken, the great Tao will retaliate, leading to the destruction of one's Tao and death. Therefore, a great Tao oath should not be made lightly. But now, the 3rd ancestor was forcing them to make one. The three of them were clearly displeased, but facing the third ancestor, they did not act out. Flames rose from Fire Lotus ancestor. Third ancestor, must it be this way? The third ancestor nodded, it must. No room for negotiation. None. The third ancestor's answer was firm, with no room for compromise. With their understanding of the third ancestor, they knew this matter was settled. They had to either make a great Tao oath and pay the corresponding price to obtain the method to break through to the Tao sovereign realm from the third ancestor, or leave now and wait to die. As for turning against the third ancestor, that idea never crossed their minds. Choosing between pride and the hope of continued life was actually a simple choice. After all, making a great Tao oath, as long as it wasn't broken, would not result in any loss. Fire Lotus ancestor took a deep breath. Fine, I'll make a great Tao oath. The third ancestor smiled and looked at Ji Yukang and Wooding ancestor. What about you two? Ji Yukang chuckled. It's just a great Tao oath, what's so difficult about it? Wooding ancestor also spoke in a hoarse voice. Making a great Tao oath is not difficult, I just hope the price afterward won't be too high. The third ancestor laughed. I conduct business with integrity, all transactions are worth the price, and I won't overcharge. He told them the words of the great Tao oath, which were the same for all three. The purpose of the great Tao oath was to prevent them from leaking the method to break through to the Tao sovereign realm in any way. In other words, the method they purchased could only be used by themselves. If their descendants wanted to break through to the Tao sovereign realm, they would have to purchase the method from the third ancestor again. The third ancestor planned to make this business long-lasting. The three placed their hands on the Tao stone and made the great Tao oath one by one, with the Tao stone glowing and leaving their imprints. The Tao stone, born of nature, can contain the power of the great Tao and resonate with countless Taos. Anyone cultivating any Tao who makes a great Tao oath through it will face retaliation from the great Tao if the oath is broken. The Tao stone's function is singular, and it is not a particularly precious item, but it is extremely rare and hard to come by. The third ancestor chuckled and put away the Tao stone. Well done, who wants to go first? Among the three, the impatient Fire Lotus ancestor said, I'll go first. A ball of light enveloped the third ancestor and Fire Lotus ancestor, making it impossible for those outside to hear their conversation. This was a single transaction, and each required private negotiation with the third ancestor. The third ancestor had full freedom to set different prices for each person. Even if the third ancestor wanted to give the method away, no one could interfere. With the method exclusively in his possession, even Lin Moyu was excluded. Wooding ancestor looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Xiaoyu, regardless of the outcome, I must thank you. Lin Moyu feigned surprise. Senior, you must be joking, I only did what I could. Wooding ancestor said, with your wisdom and talent, your future achievements will surely surpass ours. I think the third ancestor will give you a substantial reward this time. Lin Moyu said, perhaps, but even if the third ancestor doesn't, just obtaining the method to break through to the Tao sovereign realm is the greatest reward. Wooding ancestor said, your mindset is excellent, but we all know the third ancestor is a true businessman, and a very honest one at that. What he sells, though not cheap, is always worth the price. Helping him is a transaction for him, and the third ancestor will surely reward you according to your contribution. Lin Moyu smiled, I hope so, but I'm not expecting much. Ji Yukang continued, the third ancestor clearly intends to sell this method as a rare commodity. In the future, anyone among the human race who wants to break through to the Tao sovereign ninth realm will have to buy it from the third ancestor. This thing can be sold many times and will bring enormous profits to the Lufeng Merchant Association, truly a profitable business. Lin Moyu said, what you say makes sense, but there shouldn't be many who can reach the limits of the Tao sovereign on the origin continent. Ji Yukang said, indeed, not many, but not few either. You'll see, the third ancestor will soon spread the word. It won't be long before those old folks in seclusion will unseal themselves and come to the third ancestor. If this method can also be used by the demon race, they might come too. The Lufeng Merchant Association doesn't just do business with humans, they also trade with the demon race. This method will bring astronomical profits to the Lufeng Merchant Association. Lin Xiaoyu, do you think I'm right? Lin Moyu naturally understood that Ji Yukang was trying to get information from him. With the seal placed by the third ancestor, he shouldn't know these things. If he slipped up in his response, it would lead to endless trouble and danger afterward. Old fox. Lin Moyu cursed inwardly and then feigned contemplation. shaking his head after a few seconds, I don't know, that part of my memory is sealed. The third ancestor said the seal will naturally lift when I reach the Tao Sovereign ninth realm. Ji Yukang chuckled. The third ancestor is right before reaching the Tao Sovereign ninth realm, this method is indeed useless. And the third ancestor is also protecting you, otherwise, those who come out of seclusion would surely trouble you. Lin Moyu nodded. The third ancestor did say that. Now no one should trouble me, or the third ancestor will avenge me. Ji Yukang laughed. The third ancestor indeed has that ability, you should be safe. Lin Moyu and Ji Yukang exchanged words, with Ji Yukang's words being half true, half false, only to be taken with a grain of salt. Lin Moyu's acting was excellent, and Ji Yukang didn't seem to suspect anything. Moments later, the light surrounding the third ancestor and Fire Lotus ancestor disappeared. Fire Lotus ancestor's face was filled with a bright smile, and before Ji Yukang and Wooding ancestor could ask, she said, the method is fine. Chapter 2827, 2827. Chapter 2827, what pill did you say? Fire Lotus ancestor uttered a few short words, but they excited ancestor Ji Yukang and ancestor Wooding. Not only them, but if you looked closely at Fire Lotus ancestor's expression, there was also an uncontrollable excitement in her eyes. Years of wishes finally had a chance to be realized. How could Fire Lotus ancestor not be excited? At this moment, she seemed not like an ancestor of a holy land, but like the genius who constantly broke through and advanced in the past. Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. If she knew that after entering the great Tao realm with this method, she could no longer advance, he wondered how she would feel. Perhaps she already knew that in the face of eternity, some things might no longer matter. Perhaps the ceiling she pursued was just the great Tao realm. Fire Lotus ancestor looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Xiaoyu, if the ancestor can break through, you deserve credit. This is for you, and you're welcome to visit the ancient Lotus Holy Land. She tossed a lotus flower to Lin Moyu. The lotus seemed neither jade nor metal, neither gold nor iron, very peculiar. The lotus was only palm-sized, vivid and lifelike, with what seemed like a flame burning fiercely inside, extremely beautiful. Fire Lotus ancestor seemed afraid Lin Moyu wouldn't understand and explained, this is my token. If you show this in the ancient Lotus Holy Land, you will be an honored guest, and it has other uses. You can ask the third ancestor for details. Lin Moyu knew this item was extraordinary and accepted it without hesitation, bowing to Fire Lotus ancestor, thank you for your generous gift, senior. Fire Lotus ancestor waved her hand, no need to be polite. Third ancestor, I'll leave first and come back when I truly break through. The third ancestor said, I wish you success, Fire Lotus sister. Fire Lotus ancestor left, in a bit of a hurry, eager to return and cultivate after obtaining the breakthrough method. The third ancestor said, next, who? Ancestor Ji Yukang and ancestor Wooding exchanged glances, seemingly a bit modest. Since it's right in front of them, everyone has a share, so there's no rush. Finally, ancestor Wooding went first to negotiate with the third ancestor. The two discussed the price, and no one knew if they paid more or less. Just like how they didn't know what price Fire Lotus ancestor paid, nor would they ask. During the transaction, Ji Yukang continued to chat with Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu was long used to chatting with such old foxes, and every answer and word in the conversation was watertight. Ji Yukang also realized he couldn't get any useful information from Lin Moyu. He also believed that the third ancestor had indeed sealed Lin Moyu, blocking this part of his memory. Otherwise, how could a little guy who had lived for thousands of years pass through him? He didn't know that in these 2 days, Lin Moyu and the third ancestor had discussed a lot, simulating many scenarios. Soon, ancestor Wooding also completed the transaction with the third ancestor. From his expression, it was clear the transaction went smoothly. With Fire Lotus ancestor and ancestor Wooding both satisfied, ancestor Ji Yukang was completely at ease. Before leaving, ancestor Wooding also tossed a token to Lin Moyu. This token was a symbol of the Dongfang family in Duantian domain, with functions similar to what Fire Lotus ancestor gave. Ji Yukang was the last to negotiate with the third ancestor, and the transaction didn't take long. They reached an agreement in just a few minutes. Ji Yukang paid the corresponding price and was satisfied to obtain the breakthrough method from the third ancestor. However, he didn't give Lin Moyu a new token, as he had already given one before, and giving more wouldn't be useful. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Ji Yukang left. After Ji Yukang left, Lin Moyu said, "Congratulations, third ancestor, on a profitable business." The third ancestor snorted, "Don't think a few nice words will get you more benefits." Lin Moyu laughed, "How could I? But I believe the third ancestor will have accounted for everything clearly." The third ancestor said, "Of course, I do business with integrity, never cheat anyone, never break promises. What I promised you, I will do." Lin Moyu and the third ancestor also had an agreement. The method would be sold in the third ancestor's name, and the proceeds would be split 70-30 between them. The third ancestor would take 70, and Lin Moyu would take 30. The higher the selling price, the greater the third ancestor's profit. Lin Moyu wasn't greedy when the third ancestor proposed the 70-30 split, he agreed without bargaining. He even made the third ancestor feel like he had offered too low and could have gone for an 80-20 split. Lin Moyu smiled at the third ancestor, as if to say it was time to split the profits. The third ancestor snorted, "What's the rush?" Then he asked the void, "Shaolian, have they left?" Lu Lian's voice followed, "Fire Lotus Ancestor, Ancestor Wooding, and Ancestor Ji Yu Kang have all left the city and headed towards the southern continent." Having obtained the breakthrough method, the three top ancestors naturally wanted to return and cultivate. They were eager to return, leaving behind their own geniuses. Time was precious to them, and they wouldn't waste a second. Seeing they had all left, the third ancestor continued, "In 3 days, pass this message to the remaining 6 forces, only let those old folks know, no need for outsiders." Lu Lian's voice replied, "Understood." The third ancestor then said to Lin Moyu, "According to our agreement, I've converted those things into corresponding origin crystals and deposited them into your merchant account. You can use the origin crystals in your account for future purchases at the Merchant Association. For future transactions, I'll do the same. Of course, if you want to withdraw the origin crystals, that's fine too, whatever you prefer. This is something I specifically requested for you, consider it a gift, no charge." As he spoke, the third ancestor tossed a prism-shaped crystal to Lin Moyu. The crystal was icy to the touch, and Lin Moyu immediately knew where it came from. "This is something from the Cold Water Holy Land, what is it used for?" Lin Moyu asked. The third ancestor chuckled, "This is called the Cold Water Ice Crystal, issued by the Cold Water Holy Land. With this Cold Water Ice Crystal, you can make a request to the Cold Water Holy Land. As long as it's not too excessive, the Cold Water Holy Land cannot refuse. This is a promise made by that old guy Ji Yu Kang, and even he generally has to abide by it." Lin Moyu was puzzled, "Didn't Ancestor Ji Yu Kang already give me a token?" The third ancestor snorted disdainfully, interrupting Lin Moyu, "The token from that old guy Ji Yu Kang is useless. At most, it makes you an honored guest of the Cold Water Holy Land, lets you walk around Cold Heaven Lake, take a swim, and that's it. The Cold Water Ice Crystal is different, it can make that old guy Ji Yu Kang do something for you, like you and Ji Yu." The third ancestor gave a knowing look. Lin Moyu's heart trembled, and he whispered, "Did you know through the red scarf?" The third ancestor said, "The red scarf was bought from me by that cold jade girl, and now it's in your hands, no need for me to say more." At this point, there was no need to say more, everyone was smart, "You understand, and I understand." Lin Moyu accepted the cold water ice crystal, "Then I thank the third ancestor." The third ancestor chuckled, "How about returning the longevity pill to me?" Lin Moyu feigned confusion, "What pill did you say?" Chapter 2828, 2828. Chapter 2828, The Quota for the Origin Secret Vault. Lin Moyu pretended to know nothing, and no matter what the third ancestor asked, he wouldn't give back the longevity pill. However, when Lin Moyu subtly inquired about the use of the longevity pill, the third ancestor remained silent, not revealing anything. Lin Moyu didn't mind if the third ancestor wouldn't say, he could ask Lu Fengyao later, and she would surely tell him. After chatting for a while, Lin Moyu left. Not long after Lin Moyu returned to his courtyard, Lu Fengyao came looking for him. Accompanying Lu Fengyao was the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised that Lu Fengyao came, but he was surprised that the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus came along. Lu Fengyao looked Lin Moyu up and down, "You seem to have recovered well." Lin Moyu smiled and flattered, "Thanks to the pill you gave me, Sister Fengyao, I recovered so quickly." Lu Fengyao was puzzled, "Didn't it not work at the time?" Lin Moyu said, "Maybe my injuries were more complex, so the pill took a while to work. It only took effect after the third ancestor treated me. Without this pill, I couldn't have recovered so quickly. Lu Fengyao seemed to believe Lin Moyu. I guess so. The longevity pill is a divine pill personally refined by the third ancestor, very effective. As long as there's a breath left, it can save a life. Unfortunately, the pill is hard to refine, mainly because the materials are hard to find. The third ancestor has only managed to refine a few over the years. Lin Moyu agreed, such a good pill must be hard to refine. Besides healing, it must have other uses, right? From Lu Fengyao's words, Lin Moyu already knew the main use of the longevity pill was healing. But just for healing, it wouldn't be so precious, and from the name, it seemed to have other uses. Lu Fengyao said, besides healing, the longevity pill can also extend lifespan by 10,000 years. Lin Moyu murmured, no wonder it's called the longevity pill, it can extend lifespan, truly magical. He finally understood why the longevity pill was so precious. It not only healed but also extended lifespan by a full 10,000 years. No wonder it dared to bear such a name. The saintess of the Immortal Lotus, who knew the use of the longevity pill, showed no surprise. Seeing Lin Moyu safe and sound, Lu Fengyao was completely relieved. Lu Fengyao said, since you're fine now, do you want to attend the gathering in 3 days? Lin Moyu asked curiously, didn't we just have the Heavenly Pride Conference? Lu Fengyao said, the Heavenly Pride Conference was organized by the old ancestors. The gathering I'm talking about is organized privately by us, with only about 10 people attending. Lin Moyu guessed it would be the top 10 from the Heavenly Pride Conference. In other words, the gathering of the contemporary heirs of Lufeng Merchant Association and the 9 top forces. Thinking deeper, it's a gathering for the future leaders of the human race. Lin Moyu quickly understood, I probably don't qualify to attend, right? Lu Fengyao glared, whether you qualify is up to me. When the young lady gets temperamental, who dares to oppose her in the merchant city, except for the third ancestor? The saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, it's a private gathering among us, so there's no need for formalities. And there's something else after the gathering. Lin Moyu heard the underlying meaning in the saintess's words. The event after the gathering was the main focus. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry to ask and waited for them to continue. Lu Fengyao said, after the gathering, we're going to an origin secret vault. But the quota is limited, only 6 people can enter. Another purpose of our gathering is to choose which 6 will go in. Lin Moyu was puzzled. If it was based on the Heavenly Pride Conference rankings, the top 6 would most likely get the spots. But judging by Lu Fengyao's demeanor, it seemed she could go in too. Lu Fengyao sensed Lin Moyu's gaze and glared at him. What, do you think your sister doesn't qualify to go in? Lin Moyu immediately said, of course not, Sister Fengyao naturally qualifies. The saintess of the Immortal Lotus explained, this origin secret vault belongs to the Lufeng Merchant Association. Lin Moyu understood as the young lady of the Lufeng Merchant Association, Lu Fengyao naturally had the qualification to enter. Lu Fengyao said, actually, it's not really our merchant associations, we're just managing it. The Origin Secret Vault is jointly owned by us. By us, Lu Fengyao meant the Lufeng Merchant Association and the 9 top forces. Currently, these 10 are the strongest forces of the human race. Lin Moyu thought, so this Origin Secret Vault has been around for a long time, but it seems unrelated to me since I don't qualify to enter. Lu Fengyao said, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. We plan to give one of the spots to you. Lin Moyu exclaimed in surprise. The saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, we've explored this Origin Secret Vault many times, but the gains haven't been great. After the God-slaying sect trip, Lin Daoyu's abilities impressed us all, and we feel inferior to Lin Daoyu. So we discussed and decided to give one of the spots to Lin Daoyu. Perhaps with Lin Daoyu accompanying us, we can gain more. The saintess of the Immortal Lotus was straightforward about their intentions. The ones discussing this were Lu Fengyao, the saintess of the Immortal Lotus, Dongfang Wuan, and Tianwan Shengji. The top 3 from this Heavenly Pride Conference all agreed, and Lu Fengyao also agreed. Of the 6 spots, the 4 of them were basically confirmed. If Lin Moyu got a spot, only 1 spot would remain. And Lin Moyu would have to replace someone. Lin Moyu asked, I don't have a problem, but what about the person who originally had the spot? Lu Fengyao waved her hand, interrupting Lin Moyu, just give them enough compensation. The underlying message was that she had plenty of money. Lin Moyu chuckled. It was practically a forced buy. The other party was a Heavenly Pride, a contemporary Holy Sun. Was this really okay? The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus said, as long as Lin Daoyu agrees, we'll handle the rest. Lu Fengyao said, the gathering is in 10 days. You stay here and recover, don't wander outside. I'll come to get you then. The two of them didn't give Lin Moyu a chance to refuse. After they left, Lin Moyu muttered to himself, this is like being forced to go, they don't care if I want or not. The Origin Secret Vault, which the old ancestors aren't interested in and is jointly managed by several forces, is probably a training ground for the heavenly prides. The danger shouldn't be too high, the old ancestors have probably checked it out. If that's the case, it wouldn't hurt to take a look. He began organizing and thinking about the information he got from the God-slaying sect. The information included future directions and preparations he could start now. For example, his soul was already at the Tao Sovereign Third Realm, qualifying him to condense Tao patterns. Chapter 2829, 2829. Chapter 2829, The Right Path and the Wrong Path. The cultivation methods before the Tao Sovereign Realm in prehistoric times are not much different from now, and the paths taken are basically the same. Even if there are some minor differences, they do not affect the entire path of cultivation. However, after the Tao Sovereign Realm, the prehistoric cultivation methods and the current cultivation methods become two almost non-intersecting paths. Apart from having the same names for the realms, there are fundamental differences between them. Lin Moyu spent a day comparing the two cultivation methods in detail. Finally, he determined that the prehistoric cultivation method is the true path to the Great Tao. The prehistoric cultivation method is closely related to the Great Tao at every step, living up to the title of Tao Sovereign. The term Tao Sovereign does not mean the supreme of the Great Tao. In the eyes of cultivators at that time, the Tao Sovereign Realm referred to the supreme among those pursuing the Great Tao. Among countless cultivators pursuing the Great Tao, the Tao Sovereign Realm is the highest realm. One step further is the Great Tao Realm. The Great Tao Realm refers to those who have already attained the Great Tao, truly entering the Great Tao, a different level compared to the Tao Sovereign Realm. After understanding the meaning of the Tao Sovereign Realm, Lin Moyu finally understood which path was correct. In the current cultivation system, each advancement in the Tao Sovereign Realm is not very closely connected to the Great Tao. The true body of the Great Tao can be considered the closest connection between them. As for Tao patterns, they do exist but do not play any significant role. Tao patterns are more of a symbol, representing the level of the realm. However, in the prehistoric cultivation method, Tao patterns are the closest connection between the cultivator and the Great Tao. Why do Tao patterns appear? They are the Great Tao's recognition of the cultivator, a mark on the path of pursuit. Cultivators should comprehend Tao patterns, use them to perceive the Great Tao, and ultimately integrate into the Great Tao, breaking through the Tao Sovereign and stepping into the Tao Sovereign Realm. In Lin Moyu's view, the cultivation method using Tao patterns is like a broad avenue leading directly to the Great Tao. In contrast, the current cultivation method, when reaching the end, finds itself separated from the Great Tao by a sea of fire. This sea of fire is not impossible to cross, but crossing it leaves one battered and damages the foundation. Although one can eventually step into the Great Tao realm, they find it difficult to move within it. Fortunately, this skewed path can still be corrected. However, those old ancestors have little time left and cannot afford to take the detour. Their only choices are to jump over or wait to die. The longer they live, the less they want to die. Lin Moyu believes that those old ancestors will surely choose to jump over. They might fantasize that once they enter the Great Tao realm and gain immortality, everything else is trivial. They do not understand that true immortality is never dying. Lin Moyu is grateful to the third ancestor because this trip to the god-slaying sect showed him the correct path for the future, preventing him from going astray from the start. He also learned why his soul produced a Tao pattern after stepping into the Tao Sovereign Realm. It was the Great Tao's recognition of him, but unfortunately, he did not know how to use the Tao pattern at the time. Fortunately, it's not too late now. His true realm has not yet reached the Tao Sovereign, and his path has not truly begun. What he needs to do now is prepare for the future path. The more prepared he is, the broader the future path will be. Many prehistoric cultivators began preparing for themselves while still in the heavenly sovereign realm. Lin Moyu carefully thought about his future path, murmuring to himself, comprehend the Great Tao, condense Tao patterns, merge, connect, and strengthen them. In the same realm, the number of Tao patterns, although not the absolute factor determining combat power, is one of the most important factors. The god-slaying sect's sweeping disciples have only one Tao pattern, outer disciples have 2, inner disciples have 3, and personal disciples can reach 4. Even with just one Tao pattern, the combat power of an outer disciple can rival some of today's heavenly bridges. In the Tao Sovereign First Realm, the weakest can condense one Tao pattern, while the strongest can condense 6, a difference of several times. And as the realm increases, the difference in Tao patterns multiplies, with the gap widening as the realm grows. At this point, Lin Moyu suddenly smiled. 6 Tao patterns are indeed strong, but are 6 the strongest? Perhaps not. The great Tao has no end. The so-called strongest is not the limit of the great Tao but the limit of human power. Lin Moyu doesn't know if he can break this limit, but he will try, and perhaps he has a chance to break it. He never confines himself. If others can only reach 6, he refuses to believe it. Over thousands of years, Lin Moyu has learned that his path is different from anyone else's. After understanding this, Lin Moyu began to comprehend the Great Tao and condensed Tao patterns. His previous insights into the Great Tao began to converge. First, he focused on the undying Great Tao, which he understood the most. As his life Tao, Lin Moyu's understanding of it far surpasses other Taos, and many of his spells are related to it. The undying Great Tao is Lin Moyu's foundation, its position unshakable. A large amount of insights into the undying Great Tao came flooding in, not new insights but the fundamental truths he had previously acquired. These truths are all illusory, invisible, and intangible. But in the eyes of the soul, even illusions are real. The transformation between illusion and reality is indescribable and can only be understood personally. Soul power spread, filling the entire soul world. Lin Moyu gathered his insights into the Great Tao, using soul power as a carrier to merge them. Gradually, an illusory Tao pattern slowly emerged. First, the outline of the Tao pattern appeared, and Lin Moyu felt a slight joy. It seems it's not as difficult as I thought. Just as this thought arose, urgent knocking sounded outside the courtyard, and the formation in the courtyard roared, interrupting his insights. Lin Moyu awoke to find Lu Fengyao standing outside the courtyard. Opening the courtyard door, Lin Moyu asked curiously, "Sister Fengyao, why are you back?" Lu Fengyao rolled her eyes at him. 10 days are up. I'm here to pick you up." Lin Moyu was taken aback, blurting out, "The gathering is today." Lu Fengyao replied irritably, "What else?" Lin Moyu realized he had lost track of time while condensing the Tao pattern. Condensing Tao patterns really takes time. Even the outline hadn't formed, and 10 days had passed like that. Lu Fengyao looked Lin Moyu up and down. "You seem to have recovered well." Lin Moyu's aura was now intact, with no sign of injury. He thick-skinnedly said, "Thanks to the longevity pill you gave me, Sister Fengyao." Lu Fengyao patted his shoulder. "Stop flattering, it doesn't work on me. Let's go, the gathering is about to start." Lin Moyu nodded. "Lead the way, Sister Fengyao." Lu Fengyao took Lin Moyu out of the merchant city, then threw out a flying boat, taking Lin Moyu to the gathering place. The gathering wasn't held in the merchant city but in a small town outside it. Outside the merchant city, there are 4 small towns, distributed at its 4 corners, like 4 small cities guarding it. Each town is 1,000 kilometers from the merchant city and is also managed by the Lufeng Merchant Association. Though called towns, they are actually larger than many cities in the eastern continent. The town they were heading to housed 300,000 cultivators, and with the ordinary people they brought, the total population exceeded 600,000, making it a medium-sized city. Chapter 2830, 2830. Chapter 2830. Since that's the case, then I'll go. Lu Fengyao piloted the flying boat over 1,000 kilometers to the edge of the town. The town, named Rising Sun, is located east of the merchant city. Rising Sun Town also has city walls, with patrols from the Lufeng Merchant Association, and is filled with formations. Here, Lin Moyu felt a sense of killing intent. Lin Moyu knew that the town was likely built on an origin spirit vein, and the formations inside were also controlled by Lu Lian. In case of danger, Rising Sun Town would serve as a forward base, the first line of defense in the entire defense system of the merchant city. The strong individuals in the merchant city could teleport through the origin spirit vein to provide support. By keeping the battle outside, the merchant city could be kept away from the battlefield. Such an arrangement is perfectly reasonable, as the merchant city is the headquarters of the Lufeng Merchant Association, and tight defense is necessary. Lu Fengyao's flying boat flew directly into Rising Sun Town. As the young lady of the Lufeng Merchant Association, such privileges were naturally not an issue. In a corner of Rising Sun Town, there was a beautifully landscaped courtyard with pavilions, terraces, and flowing water. The gathering was to be held here. Although it was just a private gathering, the arrangements were still exquisite. In the center of the courtyard, there was a clear small lake. A winding path was built over the lake, connecting two pavilions, one large and one small, the main and the secondary. The two pavilions were separated by several dozen meters, connected by a long corridor. Lu Fengyao led Lin Moyu along the winding path to the Lakeview Pavilion. From a distance, Lin Moyu saw some familiar faces. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus, Dongfang Wuan, and Tianwan Shengji were all there. In addition, there was the Rainbow Saintess from the Seven-Star Holy Land, who ranked 5th in the Heavenly Pride Conference. There was also the Saintess of the Coldwater Holy Land, Jiyu Baiquan, who ranked 6th in the Heavenly Pride Conference. Lin Moyu was a bit puzzled. Why isn't the 4th-ranked Wang Tianling here? Lu Fengyao said, that guy doesn't like participating in such things and has already left. Wang Tianling gave Lin Moyu the impression of being low-key, silent, and speaking very little. He was indifferent to the surrounding matters and didn't care much about winning or losing. Lin Moyu felt that the Heavenly Pride Conference was just a formality for Wang Tianling, and the ranking didn't matter much. So it was normal for him not to attend the private gathering or be interested in the Origin Secret Vault. Perhaps that's his way. Lin Moyu felt that Wang Tianling had his own path, one not swayed by external things. Because Wang Tianling left, Jiyu Baiquan was invited to participate in this gathering. Otherwise, with her 6th place ranking, she wouldn't have qualified. The Heavenly Prides were already seated in the main pavilion, while the followers were seated in the secondary pavilion. Lin Moyu followed Lu Fengyao, just like when attending the Heavenly Pride Conference. Lin Moyu joked, Sister Fengyao, it feels like we're attending the Heavenly Pride Conference again. Lu Fengyao chuckled, this time, you're the main character. But Jiyu Baiquan and Rainbow Saintess might have some opinions about you, so be careful. She explained the situation to Lin Moyu. Previously, when discussing the quota with the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus, Dongfang Wuan, and Tianwan Shengji, they didn't know Wang Tianling wouldn't come. At that time, they planned to give Rainbow Saintess's spot to Lin Moyu. However, they would also compensate Rainbow Saintess, essentially buying the spot from her, though it seemed a bit forceful. Of the 6 spots to enter the Origin Secret Vault, Lu Fengyao would definitely take one, and the top 5 from the Heavenly Pride Conference usually occupied the rest. They had already agreed, and Rainbow Saintess agreed to give up her spot, as she didn't want to offend these Heavenly Prides. But an unexpected event occurred. Wang Tianling gave up his spot. So Rainbow Saintess's ranking moved up 1, and the original 6th place Jiyu Baiquan suddenly got the spot. Thus, Rainbow Saintess was a bit unwilling, feeling that Jiyu Baiquan's spot should be given up instead. But Jiyu Baiquan, being cold and indifferent, refused to give up her spot. No matter how much the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus and the others persuaded her, she wouldn't budge, and the matter was at an impasse. After hearing this, Lin Moyu couldn't help but laugh. If you hadn't let Jiyu Baiquan know earlier, this wouldn't have happened. Lu Fengyao said, it's not that simple. The spots weren't decided by us but by the old ancestors of those sects. If someone gives up, the next in line takes over. Many people are eyeing these spots, and they can't be easily changed. Lin Moyu said, if they can't be changed, why can I come in? Lu Fengyao said, the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus and Dongfang Wuan used their connections and asked their seniors to intervene, persuading the other sects, seniors. Of course, they also paid some price. Lin Moyu felt that things weren't as he thought. This exploration of the Origin Secret Vault seemed unusual. The Origin Secret Vault wasn't as simple as he thought. Perhaps there were some secrets inside. Lin Moyu asked, what's in this Origin Secret Vault? Lu Fengyao said, some old matters. Once it's confirmed you can go in, you'll naturally know. I can't say now. Lin Moyu said, can I choose to give up? Lu Fengyao paused, her beautiful eyes glaring at Lin Moyu, her voice rising, you want to give up? Why? Lin Moyu felt something was off. Why was Lu Fengyao suddenly so agitated? But he still expressed his thoughts, the more secrets you know, the faster you die. I haven't lived enough yet. Lin Moyu realized that this trip to the Origin Secret Vault wasn't simple, and it might involve some things. These things were likely related to the top forces in the Lufeng Merchant Association. Although he wasn't afraid, there were things he didn't need to get involved in. Upon hearing Lin Moyu's response, Lu Fengyao's eyes suddenly became a bit moist, her voice softening, if you really don't want to go, then don't. Lin Moyu sensed that Lu Fengyao's tone was off. Sister Fengyao, is the secret in the origin secret vault related to you? Lu Fengyao hesitated for a few seconds before softly saying, it's related to my father. Lin Moyu roughly understood, since that's the case, then I'll go. Lu Fengyao's eyes showed joy, really? Lin Moyu nodded, if I can help Sister Fengyao, taking some risks is nothing. Lu Fengyao smiled, thank you. Lin Moyu smiled, if Sister Fengyao is so polite, then we're strangers. Let's go, we shouldn't keep them waiting. The two walked along the winding path over the water. One large, one small, one main, one secondary, two lake view pavilions. In the smaller secondary pavilion sat a few people, followers of Dongfang Wuan, Tianwan Shengji, Rainbow Saintess, and Ji Yu Baiquan. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus was alone without followers. Ji Yu Baiquan's follower was an old acquaintance of Lin Moyu, Ji Yu Nianbing. Ji Yu Nianshui watched Lin Moyu from afar, her eyes filled with complex emotions, which even she couldn't understand. Seeing Lin Moyu, the followers began to chat. Lin Moyu is here too. Isn't that normal? He's Fengyao Fairy's follower. Since Fengyao Fairy is here, he naturally has to come too. Although his performance at the Heavenly Pride Conference was excellent, he's still in the Heavenly Sovereign realm. Without reaching the Tao Sovereign, he can only be a follower. When he comes over, I want to chat with him. He might become a future bridge. I think so too. His future achievements will surely be high. The three discussed, but Ji Yu Nianshui said nothing. She felt that Lin Moyu didn't seem like a follower, it seemed like Lu Fengyao was asking him for something. Chapter 2831, 2831. Chapter 2831, he's just a follower. Lu Fengyao and Lin Moyu walked through the winding waterway to the main pavilion. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus, Dongfang Wuan, and Tianwan Shengji almost simultaneously stood up, looking at Lu Fengyao as if paying their respects. The Rainbow Saintess and Ji Yu Baiquan also stood up, looking over. However, the two of them were a bit puzzled. Although Lu Fengyao was the heir of the Lu Feng Merchant Association, they were also saintesses of top forces. Moreover, everyone present was in the Tao Sovereign Second Realm, while Lu Fengyao was only in the Tao Sovereign First Realm. Why did it seem like they were showing respect to Lu Fengyao? Until Lu Fengyao entered the pavilion, the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus smiled, Lin Daoyu, Sister Fengyao, you finally arrived. Dongfang Wuan and Tianwan Shengji also cupped their fists, congratulations, Lin Daoyu, on your recovery. Lin Moyu also smiled, thank you, fellow Taoists, for your concern. I'm fine now. It was then that the Rainbow Saintess and Ji Yu Baiquan realized that it wasn't because of Lu Fengyao but because of Lin Moyu. What qualities did Lin Moyu possess to receive such treatment from them? When they heard that their spot was to be given to Lin Moyu, both were strongly opposed and unwilling. Unfortunately, their words didn't carry much weight. The decision was ultimately made by the elders of the sect. They were indeed heavenly prides, but the elders in the sect were once heavenly prides too. Their status as heavenly prides was of no use when facing their elders. Both had previously speculated whether Lin Moyu had a special relationship with Lu Fengyao, but now this speculation was completely overturned. The reactions of the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus and the others indicated that Lin Moyu's spot wasn't due to any relationship with Lu Fengyao. There must be another reason. Both were quick to react and immediately greeted Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu smiled and returned the greeting, still addressing them as fellow Taoists. At this moment, Lin Moyu already regarded them as peers, no longer as humble as before. As everyone sat down, the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus. TKTLIKIKE Taksim. AA paragraph mark A+. Swept across the table, and exquisite dishes appeared on the table. For a moment, the aroma filled the courtyard. The aroma seemed to contain a certain power of the great Tao, enticing everyone's appetite. Each dish was a spiritual food, and a very high-end one at that, not something those below the heavenly sovereign realm could eat. Eating it wouldn't be beneficial and might even be harmful. Dongfang Wuan laughed, I've been longing for the spiritual food of the ancient Lotus Holy Land for a long time. Tianwan Shengji also laughed, the spiritual food of the ancient Lotus Holy Land is the best in the southern continent. Today, I must enjoy it. Lu Fengyao also laughed, I haven't had it in a long time. Sister Shanlian is thoughtful. The Rainbow Saintess and Gu Baiquan also knew that the spiritual food of the ancient Lotus Holy Land was unparalleled, but ordinary people couldn't taste it. They didn't expect the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus to prepare spiritual food today, showing how much she valued this gathering. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus smiled, "Fellow Taoists, please eat first. We'll talk after eating." In the secondary pavilion, the table was also set with food, but it was much inferior to that in the main pavilion. The 4 people there stared at the main pavilion, unable to believe it. Why is Lin Moyu sitting there? What qualifies him to sit with the heavenly prides? When they greeted, it was all directed at Lin Moyu. Does that mean Lin Moyu has an extraordinary status? He's clearly just Feng Yao Fairy's follower. Why is this happening? It's really strange and puzzling. They were filled with doubts, unable to explain it. Ji Nianshui's beautiful eyes sparkled. Lin Moyu surprised her time and again, leaving her behind each time. She once thought that with the inheritance of the Star Lord, she would surely become a heavenly pride, shining in her era. But compared to Lin Moyu, she was still far behind, and the gap was widening. The desire to compete with Lin Moyu was diminishing, almost extinguished. What kind of person are you? They enjoyed the high-end spiritual food of the ancient Lotus Holy Land, praising it repeatedly. At this moment, the saint sons and saintesses didn't seem to care much about their image. At their level, ordinary spiritual food was no longer appealing, and their desire for food had long diminished. Only this kind of spiritual food containing the power of the great Tao could stimulate their appetite. They chatted while eating, gradually becoming familiar with each other. Lin Moyu could clearly feel that the Rainbow Saintess and Gu Baiquan looked at him with an unusual gaze, with a hint of defiance. After enjoying the spiritual food, the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus waved her hand to clear the table, replacing the food with spiritual tea. The spiritual food of the ancient Lotus Holy Land was excellent, and naturally, the spiritual tea wouldn't be inferior. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus also prepared some pastries and personally brewed tea for everyone. Lin Moyu didn't feel much, but the others were a bit flattered. After brewing the tea, the Saintess of the Immortal Lotus slowly said, "Sister Fengyao, you know the most about the Origin Secret Vault. Would you like to tell us about it?" Lu Fengyao said, "Of course, but as you know, only those who are going can know. And those who go must make a great Tao oath not to disclose it." Clearly, this matter was important, and in short, unrelated people were not entitled to know. Everyone's expression became more serious, especially the Rainbow Saintess and Gu Baiquan, who showed slight changes in their expressions. Given the current situation, one of them would not be able to go and thus would not be entitled to know. Although knowing or not knowing didn't matter much, it was a matter of face. Lu Fengyao suddenly continued, "Originally, everyone was qualified to go, but there was a small accident this time. I think it's okay to tell everyone, but the Great Tao Oath must still be made. That's the rule. Is everyone okay with that?" Lu Fengyao's sudden turn made the Rainbow Saintess and Gu Baiquan's faces look better. Gu Baiquan's voice was cold, "Rules must be followed." The Rainbow Saintess said, "Before coming, the elders in the sect already told me, and I understand." Lu Fengyao smiled, "Since that's the case, let's all make the oath." She took out a Tao stone, slightly smaller than the one the third ancestor had. For others, Tao stones are rare, but for the Lu Feng Merchant Association, taking out a few is not a problem. Lu Fengyao said, "Please join me in making the oath not to disclose any information about this Origin Secret Vault, not even a little." Everyone communicated with the Tao stone to make the oath, and no one dared to take shortcuts. Including Lin Moyu, a soul oath might have loopholes, but a great Tao oath made with a Tao stone has none. Even a Tao sovereign 9th realm old ancestor couldn't find a loophole, let alone him. While making the oath, Lin Moyu felt as if he was facing a great Tao directly, with the pressure of the Tao overwhelming his soul. In this state, no one could lie, and no one dared to deceive the great Tao. After making the oath honestly, Lu Fengyao confirmed it and put away the Tao stone. She snapped her fingers, activating the formation in the pavilion, isolating them from the outside. Chapter 2832, 2832. Chapter 2832, I'll just make a bold guess. From the Great Tao Oath to now using formations for soundproofing, everything indicates the importance of this matter. Lu Fengyao said, "What I'm about to say concerns the information about this Starwind secret vault, but there's one thing that needs to be clarified first. After I finish speaking, you can choose whether to go or not." If you decide to go, you might need to make another great Tao oath. No one reacted much, but the atmosphere grew more serious. Layer by layer, the more it was like this, the more they felt the unusual nature of this origin secret vault. Since everyone had already made a great Tao oath, Lu Fengyao didn't need to have too many concerns. This origin secret vault is called the Starwind Secret Vault, discovered about 20,000 years ago. Based on the power it emitted when it appeared, the Starwind Secret Vault is of very high level, possibly left by an extremely ancient force. Whether it's prehistoric is hard to say. At that time, in the eastern continent, a fierce battle broke out between humans and demons over this Starwind Secret Vault, with even the Buddhist race involved. Later, we humans gained control of the Starwind Secret Vault, and after discussion, it was decided that the Lufeng Merchant Association would be responsible for guarding it. At this point, everyone understood. The Starwind Secret Vault is in the eastern continent, and since the Lufeng Merchant Association's base is also there, they are naturally the best choice to guard it. Not only guarding, but management is also handled by the Lufeng Merchant Association. Without their permission, no one can enter the Starwind Secret Vault. Lu Fengyao continued, after gaining ownership of the Starwind Secret Vault, the 9 major forces in our merchant association sent top experts to explore it. Here, Lu Fengyao paused again. This pause made everyone's heart skip a beat, knowing something must have happened. Lu Fengyao said, the first group that went in never came out. The Rainbow Saintess couldn't help but exclaim, so many people, and not one came out. How is that possible? Lu Fengyao said, it's a fact. 20 strong individuals went in, 2 from each force, all above the Tao Sovereign 7th realm, and none came out. This result indicated that the Starwind Secret Vault is extremely dangerous. Tianwan Shengji asked, so the Starwind Secret Vault is very dangerous. If even such strong individuals couldn't come out, what can we do if we go? Dongfang Wuan said, that's a silly question. If we were useless, why would they want us to go? Our sects aren't lacking in old gods. Tianwan Shengji realized he had indeed asked a foolish question. Lu Fengyao said, at that time, the old ancestors didn't expect the Starwind Secret Vault to be so dangerous. They were planning to go themselves, but the old ancestors found they couldn't get in. Not only could they not get in, but even those who could go in before, the Tao Sovereign 7th realm, couldn't get in anymore. Everyone was stunned, not understanding why this was happening. Why could they get in before but not later? Lin Moyu said, the Starwind Secret Vault must have weakened. The people who went in before weakened its power. Lu Fengyao nodded, the old ancestors judged the same. Later, they sent 20 Tao Sovereign 6th realm experts in. Lin Moyu said, if I'm not mistaken, these 20 also didn't come out, and the Starwind Secret Vault's aura weakened again. Lu Fengyao nodded, you're right, that's exactly what happened. Lin Moyu said, then there should have been a third group, and they also didn't come out. Then the Starwind Secret Vault weakened again, probably allowing only those below the Tao Sovereign 4th realm to enter. After that, the Starwind Secret Vault became inaccessible, it sealed itself. Lu Fengyao widened her eyes, her mouth agape, how do you know? Lin Moyu said, I guessed. Lu Fengyao clearly didn't believe it, nor did anyone else. Lin Moyu, somewhat helpless, said, all right, let me explain my reasoning. I once entered an origin secret vault. Of course, that origin secret vault wasn't high level, but the essence of origin secret vaults should be similar. It's an independent real world, with rules set by the creator of the origin secret vault. But the creator's power is limited and can be consumed. When the first group went in and the Starwind Secret Vault weakened, I guessed that the creator's power was limited and would be consumed. So the second group went in, and it weakened again. The third group went in, and it weakened further, showing that its power was significantly consumed. Jiyu Baiquan suddenly asked, then why did it seal itself after 3 times? Lin Moyu smiled, an old senior once said, 3 times is the limit. I guess the Starwind Secret Vault is the same, limited to 3. It's like you and me, spiritual food is good, but refining it consumes some power. Eating too much makes it hard to refine, causing backlash. The 3 groups going in were like 3 meals for the Starwind Secret Vault. It got full and needed to digest. If I'm right, after a period of self-sealing, it should reopen, with fewer restrictions on entry, though not back to the original level. Lu Fengyao nodded, that's correct. The Rainbow Saintess asked, if, as you say, it refined the food, shouldn't it return to its original state? Lin Moyu said, that's easy to explain. The food it consumed resisted. In the resistance, it got hurt and couldn't easily return to its original state. There's even a possibility that the food isn't dead, still resisting inside, just unable to get out. I'll make another bold guess. The Starwind's secret vault has been gradually weakening since it appeared. And recently, although still dangerous, people have been able to return alive. In recent times, most people have been able to come out unscathed. Lin Moyu's words seemed reasonable, with no apparent flaws. Everyone looked at Lu Fengyao, wanting to get confirmation from her. Lu Fengyao, also shocked, showed through her expression that Lin Moyu was right. Lu Fengyao composed herself, "You're basically right. The old ancestors' guesses are similar to yours." Her words further confirmed Lin Moyu's statements. The saintess of the Immortal Lotus couldn't help but ask, "Lin Daoyu, how did you make these later guesses?" Lin Moyu said, "It's simple. If the Starwind's secret vault was just consuming and refining, it should gradually recover, not weaken. Continued weakening means something's wrong inside, besides the strong individuals who went in. On the other hand, if nothing's wrong, what's the point of us going in? I'll make another bold guess. There might not be many more chances to enter. If it's not resolved, the Starwind's secret vault might collapse." Lu Fengyao couldn't help but gasp, once again proven right. Chapter 2833, 2833. Chapter 2833, Why has he become the core? Upon hearing that the Starwind's secret vault was about to collapse, everyone gasped. They might not have entered an Origin secret vault before, but they knew the related knowledge. Once an Origin secret vault collapses, its power will explode all at once, turning everything inside into nothingness. If there are any living beings inside, there's almost no chance of survival. There have been similar incidents in the history of the Origin continent, and no one, regardless of their realm, has ever survived the collapse of an Origin secret vault. Lu Fengyao took a deep breath to suppress her inner shock. "You're right, the power of the Starwind's secret vault is weakening, and it might collapse in a few thousand years. We don't know the situation inside the Starwind's secret vault, nor do we know whether those sect elders are alive or dead. What was said before was just speculation, whether from the old ancestors or Lin Moyu, it was all speculation and couldn't be confirmed." Lin Moyu continued from Lu Fengyao's words, "If they're dead, their remains become the greatest treasure. Now, fellow Taoists should understand why we need to make an oath. Even if such powerful beings are dead, their remains might still be left behind. Moreover, their personal belongings and other items might not be destroyed. These old ancestors carry the heritage of their Holy Land sects, and this heritage can be inferred from their remains or other items. Heritage is the fundamental thing of a force, the true foundation. If someone else obtains these things and deduces their secret techniques, it's something no sect can accept. If those who went in are dead, their remains must be retrieved by their sect's disciples and not fall into the hands of other forces." The people present weren't fools. They understood upon hearing this. They also understood why Lu Fengyao said they had to make another Great Tao Oath before going in. Needless to say, the content of the second Great Tao Oath is that they are only allowed to retrieve the remains of their sect's elders and not occupy the remains of other sects' elders. Everyone watched Lin Moyu speak eloquently and realized that Lin Moyu was not only perceptive but also incredibly smart. These heavenly prides, in front of Lin Moyu, seemed like fools. Lu Fengyao said, "Lin Shaodi is basically correct. That's the current situation. As the number of entries into the Starwind's secret vault increases, it's continually weakening, and the more entries, the faster it weakens. The old ancestors judge that if this continues, the Starwind's secret vault will collapse. Especially in the last 5,000 years, the Starwind's secret vault has not only limited the realm of entrance but also the number of people. So in the last 5,000 years, we've greatly reduced the frequency of entries, but it's still weakening, just at a much slower pace. But the good news is that most people who go in can come back safely, meaning the safety of the Starwind's secret vault has greatly improved." Dongfang Wuan, who hadn't spoken much, suddenly asked Lin Moyu, "Lin Daoyu, what do you think?" Lin Moyu said, "Good news often corresponds with bad news. Since the good news is increased safety, the bad news should be that there's not much gain." Lu Fengyao said, "That's what I was about to say. Recently, there haven't been significant gains." Lin Moyu asked, "Sister Fengyao, why don't you tell us about the situation inside the Starwind's secret vault?" Lu Fengyao nodded slightly and began to describe the general situation inside the Starwind's secret vault. In the first 3 entries, the strongest went in, and none returned, so the situation inside the Starwind's secret vault was unknown. In recent entries, most people returned, and although there weren't significant gains, they learned something about the Starwind's secret vault. Overall, the Starwind's secret vault is dangerous, but not overly so. With caution, it can be managed. After Lu Fengyao finished speaking, everyone focused on Lin Moyu again, wanting to hear his thoughts. At this moment, Lin Moyu seemed to have become their backbone. Lin Moyu didn't hold back and continued to share his thoughts. Although I've only entered an origin secret vault once, I've been to similar places many times. If I'm not mistaken, the Starwind secret vault has inner and outer regions. The elders trapped inside probably entered the inner region, while those who went in later and returned safely probably only operated in the outer region. So, if we want to find the sect elders, we must enter the inner region. But the inner region is dangerous, and once in, we might not come out. Lin Moyu's words made several people's faces change, and they felt Lin Moyu was likely right. If even their sect elders were trapped inside, what use would they be going in? In the secondary pavilion, although the 4 followers couldn't hear Lin Moyu and the others' conversation, they could glean some clues from their expressions. However, they noticed that besides Lu Fengyao, the one who spoke the most was Lin Moyu. And when Lin Moyu spoke, the others were clearly very attentive. Anyone who wasn't a fool could see that Lin Moyu had become their core. Several Dao Sovereign Realm heavenly prides were centered around a high-level heavenly sovereign. What was going on? What exactly is happening? Why does it seem like Lin Moyu has become the leader? Yeah, it's really strange. This situation reminded Ji Yu Nianshui of when Lin Moyu was in the origin secret vault of the Star Lord, speaking eloquently. Facing powerful beings, he was fearless, as if he was the protagonist of the world. Now, it seemed to be happening again. These heavenly prides paled in comparison to Lin Moyu. Ji Yu Nianshui suddenly felt disheartened and murmured to herself, "One of my dreams is to become a heavenly pride, surpass others, and ultimately become someone like the Cold Jade Lord. But why do I feel that Lin Moyu's future achievements might surpass even the Cold Jade Lord?" Ji Yu Nianshui couldn't understand her thoughts, and a jumble of ideas kept surfacing, which was somewhat strange. Lin Moyu shared his guesses and finally concluded, "Actually, everything I've said is just speculation. The real situation can only be known once we go in. But since the Starwind secret vault is no longer that dangerous, there's no need to worry too much. We can treat it as a trip, look around, and if things go south, we can retreat and let the old ancestors worry." These words brought some relief to the group. Only Lu Fengyao didn't look too good. Lin Moyu comforted her, "Sister Fengyao, don't worry too much. If there's a chance, I won't give up." Lu Fengyao nodded, taking a deep breath to calm herself. "Next, we need to decide on the candidates." She looked at the Rainbow Saintess and Ji Yu Baiquan. Only one of them could go. At this moment, Lin Moyu suddenly spoke, "Wait a moment, before that, I have something to discuss with the third ancestor." Chapter 2834, 2834. Chapter 2834, "Don't be afraid, I'm here to protect you." Under the puzzled gazes of the others, Lin Moyu left the pavilion and said to the void, "Miss Lu Lian, please find the third ancestor for me. I have something to discuss with him." Lin Moyu knew that Lu Lian was there and that she had a way to contact the third ancestor. Sure enough, Lu Lian's voice quickly came through, "Please wait a moment." A few seconds later, a beam of light descended from the sky, enveloping Lin Moyu. In the eyes of the others, Lin Moyu's figure became ethereal, as if he wasn't there. All sound disappeared at that moment. Lin Moyu looked up at the sky, as if seeing something. Only Lu Fengyao knew that Lin Moyu was speaking with the third ancestor. The third ancestor's phantom appeared in Lin Moyu's vision. "Boy, what do you need from me?" The third ancestor's way of addressing himself varied, sometimes calling himself old man, other times this ancestor, and occasionally old guy. Lin Moyu was used to it. It was just the third ancestor's casual nature. Lin Moyu said, "Third ancestor, I just heard about the information regarding the Starwind secret vault and made some guesses." The third ancestor said, "Your guesses are basically the same as ours. Do you have any other insights?" Lin Moyu said, "I do have some thoughts, but before I say them, I want to ask, what is the ultimate goal of entering the origin secret vault?" The third ancestor was silent and did not speak. Lin Moyu continued, I guess the initial goal was to obtain some things from the Starwind secret vault. You old ancestors must have known roughly what was inside through some special means. The third ancestor remained silent, still not speaking. Lin Moyu didn't mind and continued, now there's an additional goal, which is to rescue those trapped inside. I guess those people aren't all dead, at least not completely. Am I right? If both goals can't be achieved, third ancestor, what would you ultimately want? After speaking, Lin Moyu closed his mouth and said no more. After a moment of silence, the third ancestor said, Feng Yao's father is inside, his life or death unknown. Naturally, I hope he can return safely. Lin Moyu smiled, third ancestor, you know that your position determines your perspective. Your thoughts are different from the other ancestors, right? The third ancestor said, they want everything, but if both can't be achieved, it's not up to them. Lin Moyu said, in that case, I boldly suggest that I go into the Starwind secret vault alone this time. The third ancestor said in a deep voice, do you think they will hold you back? Lin Moyu said, not in the outer region, but the outer region is useless. We definitely need to go into the inner region, and they might not be up to it. With them around, I can't act freely. I can't just kill them all, can I? What about Sister Feng Yao? The third ancestor was silent again, knowing part of Lin Moyu's strength. If Lin Moyu really went on a killing spree, these heavenly prides might not be able to stop him. He didn't doubt Lin Moyu's willingness to kill. The killing intent around Lin Moyu wasn't something ordinary slaughter could achieve. Even the Star Lord, who mastered killing, didn't have as strong a killing intent as Lin Moyu. In the eyes of the third ancestor, Lin Moyu was an unyielding killing star. Lin Moyu continued, going in alone would give me more freedom and flexibility. Sister Feng Yao and the others wouldn't have to take risks, and you wouldn't have to worry. I can also make a great Dao oath that if I find the remains of other elders inside, I'll bring them back intact and won't keep them for myself. You know that I'm not interested in those things. The third ancestor said, it's no use if I know others don't think that way. Lin Moyu said, I'm just making a suggestion. Whether you agree or not doesn't matter to me. I'll just treat it as a trip to the secret vault, sightseeing and relaxing. The implication was that he could choose not to exert himself since he wouldn't lose anything. The third ancestor couldn't miss the meaning, if Feng Yao knew you thought that way, she'd be heartbroken. Lin Moyu replied, if it weren't for Sister Feng Yao, I wouldn't bother going. Do you think the Starwind secret vault is a good place? So, yes or no, just give me a straight answer. The third ancestor said, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You just want some things from the Starwind secret vault, don't you? Lin Moyu said, no, you're underestimating me. I am interested in the things in the Starwind secret vault, but only because even you old ancestors are interested. The third ancestor said, all right, I can agree to your request, but I have one condition, you must let us know what you find inside. If it's something useful to us, we can buy it from you. Of course, you set the price, but don't make it exorbitant. Lin Moyu laughed, sure, no problem. He would set the price, and the third ancestor would negotiate, leading to a mutually acceptable outcome, a win-win situation. The beam of light disappeared, and Lin Moyu returned to the pavilion. Lu Fengyao asked, what did you talk about with the third ancestor? Lin Moyu smiled, you'll know in a moment, no rush. He smiled mysteriously, leisurely sipping his spiritual tea, and sighed, after all this talking, I'm thirsty. The spiritual tea from the ancient lotus is really good. I'll have to visit the ancient lotus holy land for some tea leaves in the future. The saintess of the immortal lotus smiled, Lin Daoyu is always welcome. After a few seconds of waiting, Lu Lian's voice suddenly sounded in their ears, the teleportation array is about to activate, please do not resist. With the reminder, a large amount of origin energy surged from the origin spirit vein, enveloping everyone. They felt an invisible force fall upon them. With Lu Lian's prior warning, no one resisted. Their vision blurred as the origin spirit vein transported them. The range of the origin spirit vein controlled by the Lu Feng Merchant Association is vast, spanning millions of miles, with the merchant city being just a small part of it. This teleportation lasted 10 seconds, covering a considerable distance. When their vision cleared, they found themselves in a wilderness. Here, green grass stretched into the distance, boundless and endless. Lin Moyu could sense that the origin power here was already quite weak, indicating they were at the edge of the origin spirit vein. As I thought, the third ancestor has fully refined this origin spirit vein. Without complete refinement, they couldn't have been transported here. A shadow appeared in the sky, and a giant flying boat stopped above them. "Come aboard," a dignified voice called out. They all recognized the voice. It was Shaho Yuan. Upon entering the flying boat, they indeed saw Shaho Yuan standing at the bow. Once everyone was aboard, he said nothing, only lightly stomped his foot. The flying boat immediately transformed into a stream of light, shooting into the distance. A huge and terrifying power surrounded the flying boat, with Shaho Yuan standing at the bow, looking into the distance. The heavenly prides seemed somewhat afraid of Shaho Yuan and didn't get too close, standing obediently in place. Only Lin Moyu was fearless, approaching Shaho Yuan. "Senior Shaho, long time no see." Shaho Yuan nodded slightly. "Your performance in the god-slaying sect was quite impressive." Lin Moyu said, "I was just lucky." Shaho Yuan said, "No need for modesty, strength is strength. Thanks to what you gained in the god-slaying sect, I have hope of breaking through that barrier. I hope you can gain something in the Starwind secret vault as well. If those old guys have any objections, don't be afraid, I'm here to protect you." Chapter 2835, 2835. Chapter 2835, His strength, no need to worry. Shaho Yuan spoke directly, and Lin Moyu knew he and the third ancestor were likely on the same side, and he seemed to dislike the old ancestors of the sects. The third ancestor is a businessman who likes win-win situations and is generally not so domineering. But Shaho Yuan is different. He cultivates the great Tao of soul and acts according to his heart, doing whatever he feels like. Lin Moyu smiled. "With your words, senior, I feel at ease." This time, Ancestor Jiyu Kang, Fire Lotus Ancestor, and Ancestor Wooding aren't here. Who came instead? Shaho Yuan said. "Those old guys got the news and rushed over as fast as they could." Lin Moyu said, "The third ancestor must have told you about my situation." Shaho Yuan said, "He did. Your idea is correct. One useful person is enough, having more useless ones is just a burden." Lin Moyu's mouth twitched. His words were too straightforward and didn't consider others' feelings. With Shaho Yuan's status, he indeed didn't need to consider others' feelings. He said whatever he wanted. Even if he faced someone like Ancestor Jiyu Kang, he would still speak his mind. He was all about not backing down. Lu Fengyao and the others were a bit puzzled at this moment. Especially Lu Fengyao, the process wasn't what she knew. Normally, she should inform the others about the Starwind secret vault, then one of Jiyu Baiquan or Rainbow Saintess would give up their spot to Lin Moyu. Finally, she would lead those entering the secret vault to it. But after Lin Moyu talked with the third ancestor, things changed. They went directly to the secret vault without deciding on the spots. Watching Lin Moyu talking with Shaho Yuan, Lu Fengyao bit her silver teeth. What exactly did he say to Grandpa Third? The flying boat crossed the vast grassland at an astonishing speed, and a lake appeared in view. The lake was vast, like an ocean. The flying boat flew directly towards the lake, crashing into it and stirring up huge waves. The flying boat, enveloped in a faint light, sped through the water without slowing down. Countless fish and beasts in the lake were startled and fled in all directions. The lake was deep, over 10,000 meters, and the flying boat rushed to the bottom at an incredible speed, then passed through again. There was no imagined collision. The flying boat seemed to pass through a thin membrane, entering another world. An independent space, artificially set at the lake's bottom. The space was not small, and several people were already standing there. Shaho Yuan put away the flying boat and said softly, "We're here." Lin Moyu glanced around and saw two old ancestor-level figures, shrouded in black energy, in a special self-sealed state, their appearances unclear. The third ancestor wasn't there, but it didn't matter. Shaho Yuan was enough. At this moment, Shaho Yuan was the third ancestor's spokesperson, and Lin Moyu knew the third ancestor must have a way to know everything happening here. If anything happened, he would naturally come. Shaho Yuan casually said, "These two old guys are Wang Hong from the Dao-seeking sect and Wu Jian from the Heavenly Sword sect." Everyone immediately saluted. "Greetings, ancestors." Ancestor Wang Hong waved his hand. No need for formalities. Ancestor Wu Jian just snorted and said nothing. Shaho Yuan said, "You've both received the third ancestor's message, right? What do you say?" Ancestor Wang Hong said, "As long as a great Tao oath is made, I have no objections." Ancestor Wu Jian also said in a low voice, "I trust the third ancestor." Shaho Yuan nodded. "In that case, let's do it." He took out a Dao stone and said to Lin Moyu, "Come here." Lin Moyu approached and communicated with the Dao stone with his soul. "I, Lin Moyu, swear by the great Dao that whatever I obtain in the Starwind secret vault will not be kept for myself. If I break this oath, I shall perish." The Dao stone glowed and then thundered, confirming the great Dao oath was established. Ancestor Wang Hong looked at Lin Moyu. "Are you Lin Moyu?" His tone carried a hint of peculiarity. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat, and he became vigilant. Ancestor Wang Hong was from the Dao-seeking sect, with which Lin Moyu had some conflicts. If this guy wanted to harm him, it could be troublesome. Shaho Yuan snorted. "Wang Hong, matters among the young should be resolved by the young. We old folks shouldn't interfere." Ancestor Wang Hong let out a low laugh. "I naturally won't interfere with the young. I'm just curious." "Indeed, a young genius, a high-level heavenly sovereign under 3,000 years old. I see you're not far from the Dao sovereign. If you can become a Dao sovereign before 3,000, your future achievements." Lin Moyu smiled. "Many young talents eventually fade into the crowd, while some who seem less remarkable end up shining." Wang Hong laughed. "What kind of person do you think you'll be, Lin Xiaoyu?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "The future is unknown, and I can't say for sure." Wang Hong chuckled twice and said no more. Lin Moyu remained vigilant. Although he said he wouldn't interfere with the young, who knew? It could just be empty words. Shaho Yuan said to Lu Fengyao, "Fengyao, take out the key and open the secret vault." Lu Fengyao was still in a daze but instinctively took out the key to the secret vault. The key was a jade stone embedded with runes, extremely exquisite. The jade stone left Lu Fengyao's palm and floated in midair, glowing brighter and brighter, illuminating most of the space. Then it shot a beam of light into the darkness ahead. In the darkness, a portal appeared, pitch black like a beast ready to devour. A gust of wind blew from the portal, carrying a faint scent of blood. Shaho Yuan said to Lin Moyu, "Be careful, and retreat if necessary." Lin Moyu nodded slightly and walked towards the Starwind secret vault. Seeing this, Lu Fengyao immediately asked, "Grandpa Shaho, what's going on?" Shaho Yuan said, "Lin Xiaoyu and the third ancestor discussed it. He'll go into the Starwind secret vault alone this time." Lu Fengyao said anxiously, "How can that be?" Shaho Yuan said, "There's nothing wrong with it." The third ancestor agreed, and no one else has any objections. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus and the others looked puzzled. They weren't fools and had already guessed what was happening. Lin Moyu had already reached the entrance and turned to Lu Fengyao, "Wait for my good news." With that, he stepped inside and disappeared. Shaho Yuan said, "Don't worry about him. His survival ability is much stronger than yours." Although these words seemed directed at Lu Fengyao, they were actually meant for the other heavenly prides. Dongfang Wuan smiled bitterly. "It seems we've become a burden to Lin Daoyu." The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus also smiled bitterly. "Indeed, Lin Daoyu is much better than us in this aspect." Tianwan Shengji said softly, "Lin Daoyu is observant and smart, but in the secret vault, that's not enough. Can he handle the danger?" Shaho Yuan laughed. "His strength is nothing to worry about." Chapter 2836, 2836. Chapter 2836, Starlight Too Fast to Dodge. The Starwind secret vault exudes an indescribable mystery. When the secret vault first appeared, nearly 100 powerful Dao sovereigns fell into it, their fates unknown. Since then, the secret vault has stopped weakening, and its collapse is drawing near. Once the secret vault completely collapses, all its power will erupt at once, annihilating all treasures, living beings, and items within. Yet the old ancestors couldn't think of a better solution, and now the secret vault only allows those below the Dao Sovereign Third Realm to enter. The Saintess of the Immortal Lotus and others are all in the Dao Sovereign Second Realm. With their combat power, they are comparable to the Dao Sovereign Third Realm. Not only them, but heavenly prides have also entered before, and the results were disappointing, having no effect on breaking the situation. Solving the mystery of the Starwind secret vault requires more than just strength. Letting Lin Moyu enter alone is considered the last effort. Lin Moyu appeared on a vast grassland, and upon entering the secret vault, he stood still, observing his surroundings. Where he stood was an endless grassland. But strangely, the grass here wasn't green, it was a purplish-black. On the purplish-black grass blades were countless light spots, and when the wind blew, the grass swayed like waves, bringing forth millions of starlights. The sky was also filled with starlight, and a brilliant galaxy ran through it. A gentle breeze blew, and the starlight grass swayed continuously, reflecting the galaxy in the sky, forming an indescribable beautiful scene. Is this how the Starwind's secret vault got its name? Lin Moyu withdrew his gaze, and the divine light in his eyes gradually faded. He used the eye of the undead but found nothing around. Within 100,000 meters, there were no living beings. The next second, a sea of skeletons flew out, pouncing in all directions. Lin Moyu released 1,000,000 skeleton generals in one breath with no one else present. He didn't need to hold back. The 1,000,000 skeleton generals scouted the way, and a map quickly formed in his mind. Lin Moyu stretched lazily, admiring the starry grassland. It's been a long time since I felt like this. It feels like I'm back to the days of raiding dungeons and exploring secret realms. It's quite nostalgic. I didn't expect that in just a few years, I'd start missing the old days. Lin Moyu showed a slight smile. This nostalgia was pleasant. The skeleton generals moved quickly and flew a great distance in an instant. The grassland was vast and boundless, with no end in sight from any direction. Suddenly, Lin Moyu's spiritual sense issued a warning. In his awareness, several skeleton generals died. A faint light shot towards him, and Lin Moyu only had time to step half a step to the left before the light pierced through his body. The light was so fast that even his undying golden body didn't activate. A massive force exploded inside him, sending Lin Moyu flying hundreds of meters. Although he wasn't injured, as the damage was shared by the undead army, Lin Moyu was a bit disheveled. Not because the attack was too strong, but because it was too fast. It was so fast that the warning from his spiritual sense came just as he was attacked, too fast for the undying golden body to activate. Most importantly, the attack wasn't aimed at him but at the skeleton generals. It first killed the skeleton generals and then followed the connection between him and the skeleton generals to reach him. After landing, Lin Moyu's expression was slightly serious. Being tracked through the skeleton generals was something that had never happened before. If he could be attacked directly through his summons, his safety would be greatly compromised. Moreover, Lin Moyu thought further. If the rules in the secret vault could attack him directly, then those old ancestors above the Tao Sovereign's 7th realm could probably do it too. When facing them, he would have to be extremely careful, or he might be caught off guard. Do I have to be the meat shield again? Lin Moyu mocked himself and continued to let the skeleton generals explore while recalling what had just happened. The killed skeleton generals had already been resurrected by the power of the Undying, and Lin Moyu received complete information. The attack came from the sky, with a point of starlight falling from above. Because of the full sky of stars and the grassland filled with starry grass, this starlight didn't attract attention. As the starlight fell, it accelerated continuously, becoming so fast that he couldn't react. From the starlight's descent to the final strike on the skeleton generals and then hitting him, the whole process took about 3 seconds, with the actual attack completed in the last 0.01 seconds. In other words, the starlight completed its descent and acceleration in the first 2.99 seconds. If I could spot it from the start, maybe I could dodge it. Lin Moyu thought to himself. He ordered the skeleton generals to watch the starry sky in case more starlight fell. Just as the order was given, his spiritual sense issued another warning. Lin Moyu tensed up, seeing a point of starlight, and a massive force exploded on his head, sending him flying again. It was too fast for Lin Moyu to react. Fortunately, the attack wasn't too strong, comparable to the Tao Sovereign First Realm, which Lin Moyu could handle. After being attacked twice, Lin Moyu's vigilance increased. The skeleton generals continued to explore while closely monitoring changes in the starry sky. Finally, more starlight fell, and this time they caught the change. As the starlight fell, its speed suddenly increased, becoming faster and surpassing the skeleton general's limits. The starlight disappeared from view, not because it vanished, but because it was too fast to see. The skeleton general suddenly collapsed. It's here. Just as the thought arose, a massive force exploded in front of him, and Lin Moyu was blasted away again. Even though he saw it, the speed was too fast to dodge. Is it really unavoidable? Lin Moyu remained calm. Although he hadn't dodged the first 3 times, he didn't give up. He continued to try, looking for the right way to respond. Currently, the attack was only at the Tao Sovereign First Realm, within his tolerable range. If he didn't take this opportunity to figure it out, it would be more troublesome if the attack became stronger later. There was a way, using the bone hell to block the attack from all angles. But that's not the right method, it's just brute force. If the attack gets stronger, the bone hell might not hold. He had to find the correct response. More starlight fell, and Lin Moyu didn't stand still. With the wings of the undead, he turned into a stream of light, circling around. At the same time, the skeleton generals targeted by the starlight also circled at the fastest speed. The starlight accelerated to the extreme, disappearing from sight. The rapidly circling skeleton generals collapsed without warning, and Lin Moyu's spiritual sense issued a warning. Boom! Lin Moyu was blasted away hundreds of meters again, and his previous actions were useless. Is it a coincidence, or is it impossible to dodge once locked on? Lin Moyu continued to try. After being blasted away several more times, he finally confirmed that once locked on by the starlight, it was unavoidable. So far, Lin Moyu still didn't know how the starlight locked onto him through the skeleton generals. Let's try another method. Chapter 2837, 2837. Chapter 2837, The True Meaning of the Great Tao Lock. After several attempts, Lin Moyu gave up on dodging the starlight attacks through his own movements. He confirmed that once locked by the starlight, it was impossible to dodge. The frequency of the starlight falling was increasing, and Lin Moyu knew he didn't have much time left. Currently, the skeleton generals had flown out 10,000 kilometers, yet the grassland's end was still nowhere in sight. Lin Moyu had to suspect that even if he solved this puzzle, he might not be able to leave the grassland. This situation was somewhat similar to a secret realm, requiring unraveling puzzles step by step, otherwise, he would be stuck in place. Lin Moyu decided to try the second method. As more starlight fell, Lin Moyu immediately recalled the skeleton general. The starlight, which was continuously accelerating, suddenly lost its target, but the acceleration continued. The starlight accelerated to its limit but, without a target, didn't know where to attack. It fell into the grassland like a meteor. Boom! The grassland exploded, and the purple grass was blown into the air, dancing in the breeze. A seemingly insignificant starlight, when accelerated to the extreme, possessed astonishing destructive power. A crater 5 or 6 meters in diameter and 10 meters deep was blasted into the grassland. This also made Lin Moyu realize that this grassland was extraordinary. The power of the starlight was equivalent to the Tao's sovereign first realm, enough to collapse a city and cause countless casualties in the outside world. But here, it only created a small pit. Soon, more starlight fell, and Lin Moyu used the same method, recalling the skeleton general immediately. The starlight once again turned into a meteor and crashed, creating a small pit. After several attempts, Lin Moyu confirmed that this method was feasible. However, he still felt it wasn't enough, sensing that he hadn't grasped the essence, at least not the way to solve the puzzle. When the starlight fell again, Lin Moyu didn't recall the skeleton general but instead cut off the connection with it. The skeleton general stood motionless, and the starlight accelerated rapidly, shattering the skeleton general, and then Lin Moyu was blasted away again. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, cutting off the connection with the skeleton general doesn't work. The starlight can lock onto me through the skeleton general, not by soul or aura, but by using the great Tao. The skeleton general's spell, the stars, carries my Tao, so the starlight can lock onto me through the great Tao. Unless I can sever the great Tao, once locked, I can't dodge. Lin Moyu finally understood how the starlight locked onto him, which was crucial. Today, the starlight can lock onto him through the great Tao, meaning those powerful beings can also lock onto him through the great Tao. However, severing the great Tao is not impossible, just extremely difficult. Without severing the great Tao, he could only endure such attacks. When he discovered the mystery of the starlight, Lin Moyu suddenly thought of something. His corpse explosion spell might also lock onto the opponent through the great Tao. The great Tao is omnipresent, ignoring spatial distance, so corpse explosion can also ignore spatial distance. I understand now. If it can lock onto me through the great Tao, why can't I lock onto it through the great Tao? Find clues and learn to master the great Tao lock. For a moment, Lin Moyu felt enlightened, knowing what he needed to do. He didn't know if his idea would solve the puzzle, but if he could comprehend this method, it would greatly enhance his combat power. Previously understanding that the starlight used the great Tao lock was like an appetizer, now, it's the main course. If he could master it, he wouldn't need the bone hell to mark targets, he could lock onto them directly with the great Tao. As long as the opponent couldn't sever the great Tao, they would find it hard to evade. The frequency of the starlight falling was gradually increasing, and Lin Moyu knew time was limited. He didn't hesitate to use the Great Tao of Luck to temporarily boost his luck. The Great Tao of Luck appeared, merging with him, and before him, purple light soared, and the Dragon of Luck roared incessantly. This was the first time Lin Moyu used the Great Tao of Luck, and his soul power was rapidly depleting, but it was still within the World Tree's replenishment range. If Lin Moyu wished, he could even maintain this state for a long time. Then he consumed a drop of tree sap, becoming closer to the Great Tao, and his comprehension increased sharply. As starlight fell and accelerated, it killed the skeleton general and shot towards Lin Moyu along the Great Tao. Lin Moyu was blasted away, flying hundreds of meters before stabilizing himself. He closed his eyes slightly, continuously sensing the starlight's formation, descent, acceleration, and final explosion on him. With his keen soul, he didn't miss a single detail of the entire process. Lin Moyu sensed clearly, and after just a few times, he gained some insights. He discovered that when the starlight fell, a wisp of Great Tao power appeared among the myriad stars in the sky. This wisp of Great Tao power was very faint, almost without any attributes, like a barely visible wisp of dust, falling with the starlight. When the starlight killed the skeleton general, this wisp of Great Tao power, transformed into dust, always followed closely. Lin Moyu sensed it repeatedly, each time detecting the presence of this wisp of dust. As the attempts increased, the sensing became clearer. The dust, at the moment the starlight shattered the skeleton general, locked onto the connection between him and the skeleton general, a connection belonging to the Great Tao. This connection is the most fundamental, the carrier between the spell and the Great Tao, and it's a connection Lin Moyu couldn't sever. The Great Tao power carried by the starlight, like smoke and dust, locked onto him through his Great Tao, allowing the starlight to hit him accurately. The dust was also a wisp of Great Tao power, without attributes, light as nothing. It was like an extremely light insect landing on his Great Tao, not alerting his Great Tao at all. Lin Moyu found the key point. The most important part was this wisp of Great Tao power, like smoke and dust. He began to study the Great Tao power attached to the starlight. The starlight struck repeatedly, and Lin Moyu was blasted away continuously. Although uninjured, he was a bit disheveled. But his eyes grew brighter, and he finally began to understand. All Great Tao powers have their attributes, and when they land on any Great Tao, they clash. To be like this dust, not causing a reaction, two things are needed. First, the Great Tao power used must be extremely small, almost undetectable. The precision required to control the Great Tao power is so high that ordinary people can't achieve it. Perhaps those above the Tao Sovereign's 7th realm could do it more easily. Below that, it's extremely difficult. Second, all original attributes of the Great Tao must be stripped away, leaving only pure Great Tao power. Only then will there be no conflict. In other words, his Great Tao power must be as harmless as possible, so other Great Taos don't perceive a threat, avoiding a reaction. The power of a Tao Sovereign comes from the Great Tao. If the Great Tao isn't alerted, the Tao Sovereign won't notice either. Lin Moyu fully understood how to use the Great Tao to lock onto an enemy, more accurately and harder to break than soul locking. Knowing is one thing, but doing it is another. Chapter 2838, 2838. Chapter 2838, Just Waiting for the Starlight. After understanding the true essence of the Great Tao Lock, Lin Moyu began to experiment repeatedly. The Great Tao Lock can be applied to any Great Tao. Because ultimately, the attributes of the Great Tao must be stripped away, leaving only the purest Great Tao power, which must also be made extremely small. It is used only for locking onto enemies, without any offensive capability. For most people, there is no choice. The vast majority of cultivators focus on refining only one Great Tao throughout their lives. They might dabble in several Great Taos, but they usually refine only one. Lin Moyu is different. He has 4 Great Taos to choose from. Among the 4 Great Taos, there are both tangible and intangible, each with its own benefits. After some thought, Lin Moyu first abandoned the time and space Great Taos. The undying Great Tao is his life Tao, the one he manipulates most skillfully. The luck Great Tao belongs to the power of the void, elusive and least likely to be detected. Since the Great Tao can lock onto enemies, those truly powerful must have countermeasures, and they might have ways to sever one's connection with the Great Tao, rendering the lock ineffective. The luck Great Tao, with its void characteristics, is less likely to be discovered, and if undiscovered, naturally harder to sever. After consideration, Lin Moyu decided to use the luck Great Dao to lock onto enemies. He separated strands of Great Dao power from the luck Great Dao, but each strand failed to satisfy him, as they were too coarse and enough to alert other Great Daos. Lin Moyu's ability to manipulate multiple Great Daos played a significant role at this moment. He could let the separated Great Dao power be tested with his other Great Daos, and success or failure was immediately apparent. This greatly improved efficiency. Lin Moyu knew his control over the luck Great Dao was far inferior to the undying Great Dao. There was no other way but to keep trying and improving. He believed that with repeated attempts, he would become more proficient. The frequency of starlight falling increased previously, it took 7 or 8 seconds for a point of starlight to fall. Now, almost every 2 or 3 seconds, a point of starlight would fall. Lin Moyu still ignored it, as the undead army could withstand it, so it wasn't a big deal. Within the spell of the stars, the undead were constantly injured and recovering at an astonishing speed. Lin Moyu appeared disheveled, but he wasn't injured at all, it was just an appearance. If you looked closely at his energy and spirit, you'd find that Lin Moyu was in better shape than when he first entered the secret vault. In fact, Lin Moyu was excited. With the dual effects of enhanced luck and the world tree's silvery sap, his comprehension had reached its peak. With each attempt, he made rapid progress. The luck Great Dao he condensed became increasingly small and weak. Finally, Lin Moyu separated a strand of luck Great Dao that was tens of thousands of times smaller than a hair, completely invisible to the naked eye. Next, he had to strip away the luck power from this strand of the Great Dao, leaving only its void characteristics. He could condense weapons with the power of the luck Great Dao, and by reversing the process, he could disperse the power within the luck Great Dao. Lin Moyu controlled it precisely, and after several trials, he quickly met his requirements. Lin Moyu was grateful to the dreamer who passed on the luck Great Dao to him, as the repeated learning and mastery played a significant role at this moment. Returning from his insights, a point of starlight exploded in front of him, blasting him away again. Then, starlight continued to attack, and Lin Moyu floated like a kite in the air, uncontrollably. Now the frequency of starlight had increased to twice per second, exploding continuously. Lin Moyu remained calm, sensing that he had been in the Starwind's secret vault for more than a day. The comprehension speed is not bad, no rush, I can try now. Lin Moyu separated a strand of Great Dao power. Although the luck Great Dao was stripped of all attributes, it still retained its void characteristics, making it hard to detect. At the moment the starlight was generated, Moyu wrapped the separated Great Dao power around it. If you can lock onto me, I can naturally lock onto you. Lin Moyu's Great Dao power instantly attached to the Great Dao power behind the starlight, completing the lock. The skeleton general swung its bone sword, and the sword light swept out, accurately hitting the accelerating starlight. The starlight was shattered by the sword energy and dissipated. Lin Moyu had tried before, the acceleration of the starlight was too fast, and unless it was a wide area coverage, it was impossible to hit the target. Moreover, as the starlight's speed increased, so did its power. After 2 seconds, the skeleton general's sword energy couldn't break it. Now, the starlight was locked by the Great Dao after only 1 second of acceleration and was shattered by the sword energy. Useful. Lin Moyu was delighted, it was more effective than expected. The Great Dao is omnipresent, and using Great Dao power, he could instantly lock onto enemies, ignoring distance. Once locked, any attack could hit accurately. This effect was similar to the Bone Hell's marking. The main advantage was its flexibility and variability, without the need for complex calculations. Next, let's use you to practice proficiency. Having mastered the Great Dao lock, the next step was to practice proficiency, using the starlight to lock on repeatedly and shatter it each time. Lin Moyu's proficiency was continuously improving, becoming more adept. In the next half hour, no starlight could complete its acceleration, let alone hit Lin Moyu. The frequency of starlight falling continued to increase, from 2 per second to 3 per second, and it wasn't the end. Lin Moyu's use of the Great Dao lock also increased in frequency, rapidly increasing proficiency. Gradually, Lin Moyu discovered that at the moment the starlight fell, a Great Dao appeared among the stars. Not the dust-like Great Dao power, but a complete Great Dao. This discovery allowed Lin Moyu to grasp the key point. He realized that the key to breaking the situation lay here. That Great Dao only flashed for a moment when the starlight appeared. The location and direction of the starlight's appearance were unpredictable. In response, Lin Moyu chose an old-fashioned method, casting a wide net. He used all his soul power to distribute as much great Tao power as possible, trying to capture that fleeting moment. The great sword Tao Sovereign appeared beside him, ready to strike. Finally, a few minutes later, a point of starlight appeared right at the edge of the net. Lin Moyu manipulated the great Tao power, attaching it at the moment the starlight flashed. At the moment the great Tao flashed, the luck great Tao power was already attached to it. Instantly, through this great Tao, Lin Moyu locked onto the existence behind the great Tao. The great sword Tao Sovereign moved swiftly, raising its sword, and a giant sword appeared in the void, slashing down. With a loud bang, the entire starry sky trembled, the galaxy quaked, and countless starlights fell. Starlight filled the sky, numbering in the billions, impossible to count. As the starlight appeared, it entered an accelerated state, like countless meteors streaking across the sky, making the earth resplendent. Lin Moyu's spiritual sense warned him of extreme danger. The great sword Tao Sovereign's attack had struck the main body, causing an unpredictable qualitative change. At this moment, Lin Moyu had no choice. Attack with all your might. The great Tao lock remained, and the great sword Tao Sovereign launched a fierce attack. The bone hell appeared, enveloping the surroundings, swallowing countless starlights before they could accelerate. The area was instantly cleared, and 1,000 skeleton kings emerged, surrounding it tightly. The dragon cavalry corps captains all acted, summoning a massive number of dragon cavalry. Layer upon layer of defenses were set up, just waiting for the starlight. Chapter 2839, 2839. Chapter 2839, Severing the Great Tao. Countless starlights fell, rapidly accelerating into numerous meteors, dazzling and beautiful. Lin Moyu instantly completed his defense, multitasking, using the luck Great Tao to separate strands of Great Tao power, combined with previous arrangements, covering the sky. Before the starlights finished accelerating, the undead army had already launched an attack. Spell, Bone/God. With the Skeleton King present, the Skeleton Generals shared the Skeleton King's spell. Countless sword lights lit up, shattering many meteors on the spot. The Skeleton King also swung its sword, and the bloody bone Great Tao appeared, transforming into a sea of bones, shattering countless starlights again. 1,000 miles around were cleared, but that was only a small part of the vast starlight. The starlight completed its acceleration, sweeping over like a flood of stars. The undead army was continuously shattered by the starlight, turning into white bones. The starlight shattered the undead and quickly locked onto Lin Moyu, turning to shoot at him. Along the way, countless skeletons blocked the path, all shattered by the starlight. After shattering several undead, the starlight's power weakened. Each point of starlight didn't carry much power and exploded after shattering several skeletons. Lin Moyu used the undead army as a shield, continuously weakening the starlight. Under the endless starlight's impact, the bone hell twisted sharply, on the verge of breaking. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the bone hell contracted, stabilizing again. The attack came and went quickly from acceleration completion to attack end, it took less than a millisecond. The undead army's defensive circle mostly collapsed, and many skeletons shattered after the attack ended. Fortunately, it was finally blocked, and the dead ones were resurrected. Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief, finally blocking it. If there were more starlights, it would have been much more troublesome. The main issue was the speed, too fast to react. The sword light flickered, and the great sword Tao Sovereign suddenly stopped. The great Tao lock disappeared, and the great sword Tao Sovereign lost its target. Lin Moyu wasn't anxious, he roughly understood what was happening. Countless skeleton generals were summoned, numbering over 10 billion. The world was filled with skeleton generals, almost one every few meters. After summoning the skeleton generals, Lin Moyu spread countless strands of great Tao power, like a giant net, covering the surroundings. After waiting for a while, starlight finally appeared again. As the starlight appeared, the skeleton generals swung their swords, and the white sword energy blasted in all directions, covering the sky and ground. At the same time, the great Tao power followed closely, trying to attach to the great Tao behind the starlight. Neither the skeleton general's sword energy nor the great Tao power was 100% reliable. Lin Moyu used both methods for insurance. The newly appeared starlight was immediately shattered by the sword energy, and a large amount of sword energy attacked the starry sky. The starry sky shook like waves, swallowing all the sword energy. All attacks missed. The skeleton general's sword energy couldn't hit the hidden presence in the sky. Lin Moyu's eyes flickered. As expected, without understanding the great Tao power, it's impossible to lock onto and hit the opponent. The skeleton general's attacks failed, but the great Tao power successfully attached to the great Tao behind the starlight. The great Tao successfully locked onto the enemy again. The great sword Tao sovereign swung its sword, and the skeleton generals also attacked simultaneously. In an instant, the starry sky was filled with sword light. All attacks, guided by the great Tao lock, hit the target. Boom! The starry sky shook continuously, and Lin Moyu seemed to hear the sound of something breaking. The starry sky trembled endlessly, the galaxy shimmered, and countless starlights fell, more than before. Good timing. Lin Moyu's thoughts surged, and the 10 billion skeleton generals swung their swords simultaneously, covering the world. Countless starlights were shattered by the sword energy, without even having a chance to accelerate. Lin Moyu smiled. This time is different from the last. Last time, it was too rushed to stop the starlight from accelerating. This time was completely different. Now there were 10 billion skeleton generals, plus billions of dragon cavalry, and the attack could instantly cover every corner. The second batch of starlights didn't even have a chance to accelerate before being destroyed. For others, this situation would be extremely difficult, but for Lin Moyu, it was effortless. I wonder how those heavenly prides would handle it. So many starlights, while not strong in attack, are fast enough to give them a headache. Lin Moyu imagined that those heavenly prides would rely on protective treasures to withstand the starlight. And take the opportunity to find a way out. There must be an exit on this grassland, but he hadn't found it. Lin Moyu believed those heavenly prides couldn't use starlight to comprehend the great Tao lock like he did. Although that method could also leave the grassland, it would miss an opportunity. Moreover, Lin Moyu felt his method was the correct one. If I'm not mistaken, even if you leave the grassland, you're still on the outskirts of the Starwind secret vault. To enter the inner vault, you must break through the grassland. He thought of the dungeons and secret realms he had raided before, which were like this. The wrong method might yield rewards but not the ultimate prize. The starlights that had just fallen existed for only a moment before being shattered by the infinite sword energy. As the starlights perished, the great Tao lock also suddenly disappeared. Lin Moyu's eyes flashed with understanding. I see, only when the starlight appears can you be attacked. In that case, let's wait and see how many rounds you can endure. Severing the great Tao lock is quite interesting. Discovering the opponent severing the great Tao lock twice, Lin Moyu couldn't help but be curious. The great Tao lock is a method to control the enemy, while severing it is a self-preservation method. Now that I control the great Tao lock, if I can also master severing the great Tao, my combat power could rise another level. In that case, let's take it slow, no need to rush. Previously, he wanted to solve the opponent quickly and move to the next area, but now he wasn't in a hurry. Waiting for the starlight to appear again, Lin Moyu completed the great Tao lock, then had a skeleton general attack. The skeleton general's attack was the weakest of Lin Moyu's methods, and he thought weakening the attack might allow more opportunities. Unfortunately, the result wasn't as he expected. When the skeleton general's attack hit, Lin Moyu heard the sound of breaking again. Just like when the great sword Tao sovereign attacked before, and the starry sky shook even more violently. Lin Moyu suddenly understood that the opponent's ability to withstand attacks wasn't based on attack strength but on the number of attacks. From the current situation, it could withstand at most 10 more attacks, no more. After the sword energy hit the opponent, countless starlights would fall from the starry sky, attacking him. Unfortunately, these starlights didn't last half a second before being destroyed. As the starlights perished, the great Tao lock was severed. Lin Moyu was waiting for this moment. With luck and comprehension at their peak, Lin Moyu focused all his efforts on sensing. After 5 consecutive rounds of sensing, Lin Moyu finally smiled. Chapter 2840, 2840. Chapter 2840, The position of Star Lord is not worthy of you. The sound of cracking grew louder, and the shaking in the starry sky intensified. Lin Moyu knew that the starry sky was about to collapse. Wave after wave of starlight fell, increasing in number and difficulty, but posed no threat to Lin Moyu. No matter how much starlight there was, none had the chance to accelerate, as all were instantly swallowed by sword energy. Beneath the starry sky was Lin Moyu's domain. Finally, after the 8th wave of starlight was extinguished, Lin Moyu's eyes shone brightly. I understand now. The repeated insights were not in vain. Lin Moyu finally comprehended the method to sever the great Tao. Once comprehended, he realized the method was indeed simple. At that moment, Lin Moyu even felt a bit foolish. Severing the Great Tao uses the same method as separating the Great Tao. Simply expel the strand of Great Tao power that locks onto you from your own Great Tao. It's very simple, with no difficulty. The challenge lies in finding the strand of Great Tao power from the opponent. While challenging for others, it was not difficult for Lin Moyu. His soul was too keen, and with some focus, he could easily find it. Knowing the method, the next step was experimentation. Lin Moyu allowed a point of starlight to fall and complete its acceleration. The starlight shattered the skeleton general, and Lin Moyu immediately sensed a strand of Great Tao power locking onto him. The moment he was locked, Lin Moyu's Great Tao roared, expelling it. The starlight, which had been flying towards him, suddenly lost its target and stopped in midair. Without speed, the starlight lost all its power. Lin Moyu leisurely pinched the starlight with his fingers, discovering that its true form was merely a speck of dust. By continuously accelerating the dust, it gained powerful strength, ultimately unleashing an attack not weaker than a Tao sovereign. With his fingers pinching the starlight, Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "This way, it won't be so easy for others to lock onto me through the Great Tao." With a gentle pinch, the starlight shattered on the spot. Lin Moyu looked up at the starry sky. "You're useless now." The role of the starry sky on this grassland had been fully understood by Lin Moyu, losing its value. 2 minutes later, with a thunderous sound, the starry sky shattered. The world hidden behind the starry sky was revealed. It was a pitch-black world, like a starless, lightless night sky, with a broken bow hanging high, shining brightly. Lin Moyu sensed a familiar aura from this broken bow. It's the bow of the Falling Star Lord. Could this be the origin secret vault of the Falling Star Lord? The thought was dismissed almost instinctively. Lin Moyu felt this was definitely not the origin secret vault of the Falling Star Lord. If the Star Lord had left an origin secret vault, it would likely be to select a successor. Usually, successors are at the heavenly sovereign realm, and it couldn't be so dangerous. To trap old ancestors above the Tao sovereign 7th realm, Lin Moyu thought, unless the Falling Star Lord himself acted, it couldn't be done. Looking at the bow, it was already broken. Although still powerful, its broken state was a fact, no longer at its peak. As the bow of the Falling Star Lord, how could it be easily broken? There's only one possibility: the Falling Star Lord perished here. Lin Moyu's thoughts raced, and he considered many things in an instant. This origin secret vault, capable of causing the Falling Star Lord's demise, was indeed very dangerous. For a secret vault that could cause a Star Lord to perish, trapping several old ancestors seemed normal. As Lin Moyu pondered, the bow of the Falling Star Lord slowly drew back. A terrifying pressure descended from the sky, and Lin Moyu felt as if he were bearing a mountain, his feet sinking into the grass. The bow of the Falling Star Lord emitted a strong light, illuminating the entire grassland. The countless starlights on the purple-black grass detached, flying backward into the bow, forming a long arrow. Lin Moyu knew this would be the final arrow. If he couldn't withstand it, he would perish. If he could withstand it, he could enter the next area. In Lin Moyu's view, the danger level of the Starwind secret vault was greater than that of the God-slaying sect. In fact, the God-slaying sect wasn't particularly dangerous, at most yielding little reward. There must have been an agreement between the third ancestor and the sect master of the God-slaying sect, making it more of a training ground and part of the third ancestor's plan. Lin Moyu didn't know why the third ancestor did this or what the long-term plan was. But Lin Moyu was sure the third ancestor had a purpose, including the task he wanted Lin Moyu to do. Compared to the God-slaying sect, the Starwind secret vault was much more dangerous. The pressure increased, but Lin Moyu remained calm. The great sword Tao Sovereign slowly rose, shielding Lin Moyu. Whoosh! The arrow flew out, lighting up the night sky like day. At that moment, Lin Moyu felt as if a star were falling, ready to crush him. His great Tao, his body, his soul, all seemed on the verge of shattering. This arrow relied not on speed but on sheer power. The great sword Tao Sovereign swung its giant sword, meeting the arrow. Like stars colliding, the arrow burst into dazzling light and exploded. Lin Moyu frowned. He felt himself locked by the great Tao, with a sharp aura shooting towards him. In his vision, a light pierced through the explosion, heading straight for him. The great sword Tao Sovereign struck again, but the light suddenly accelerated, evading its block. This arrow was the true threat, first overpowering with force, then hiding a second attack. Lin Moyu remained calm, his great Tao roaring, directly dispersing the heavenly Tao power locking onto him. In an instant, the formidable arrow lost its target, stopping motionless in midair. Its true form was revealed, a golden and silver arrow. Lin Moyu reached out and grasped the arrow. Indeed, it has the same aura as my broken arrow. It is indeed the treasure of the Falling Star Lord. With the Star Lord's treasure broken here, it seems the Falling Star Lord truly perished here. I wonder if this arrow can merge with the star arrow lich. It should be possible. After holding the arrow for a few seconds, a whirlwind arose, humming. In the dark night sky, the broken bow shone brightly again, and a dignified middle-aged man appeared. This man had sharp eyebrows and eyes, and his gaze was piercing. Lin Moyu felt a slight sting on his skin under that gaze. "Young one, you're quite good." The middle-aged man's voice was gentle and kind. "Junior Lin Moyu greets the Falling Star Lord." Lin Moyu bowed respectfully, knowing the man's identity as a remnant soul of the Falling Star Lord. By now, Lin Moyu was sure the Falling Star Lord had perished. The Falling Star Lord sighed, "No need for such courtesy. I'm just a remnant soul, no longer a Star Lord." Lin Moyu said, "Though I don't know why you perished, you once reached the position of Star Lord, a senior of the human race. My courtesy is deserved." The Falling Star Lord chuckled, "Young one, you're quite good. Let me ask you, would you like to accept my inheritance?" Lin Moyu shook his head, "I appreciate the offer, but I have other aspirations." The Falling Star Lord's voice remained gentle, "Indeed, with your talent, the position of Star Lord is not worthy of you.